Welcome to your doom.
What's up, everyone? We are your harbingers of doom, Atul.
I'm Justin.
And this is Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
It's about fucking time. Well, not really. I mean, we're only like a week.
Yeah. We had initially said that we weren't going to record anything until January, but it is Christmas Eve.
Literally.
It is December 24th, and we are recording this episode just because we know that... well, typically we try not to talk about the movie until we've recorded an episode. And sitting here not talking about this movie is painful.
Yeah.
So we are like, fuck it, we'll just make the time to do it so that we don't have to sit there and, not talk about it. And then when other people ask us, we sit there and not talk to them. Just become antisocial assholes.
It's kind of been basically like that, yeah. This is different too, because typically we will, at least before the podcast, give a yay or a nay, just so we kind of know what we're getting ourselves into, whether we, know what the attitude of each other is going in. We haven't done it for this, so I don't know whether he really liked it, really disliked it, or is in the middle or whatever. So I guess we're gonna find out. Do we want to just on the count of 3 say yay or nay? Or did you want to?
No, it's like my feelings are so much more complex than that. That's the problem.
Let's boil it down to a yay or nay.
I can't.
Do it. Do it.
Okay, ready?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, nay.
Yay.
You're yay?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a yay just barely, right?
It's a complicated yay.
Okay, and mine's a complicated nay. That's why. Mine's just like, there's overall feelings like there's a lot of good stuff, and it's a cinematic mess too.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where it falls for me. Yeah.
So before we jump into that, how's your Christmas holiday been?
Oh, you bastard!
How's it been?
Tell me, bastard.
Tell me a little bit about the gift-giving season and how much it means to you.
I last time when we did the Christmas episode, as you know, I was bitching and moaning about me not being good at giving gifts, and that has not changed. It's been a struggle.
It's been like 2 weeks.
You know what? It doesn't help me that I typically wait until the last minute to get presents too. And that's my own fault. So I put myself in a situation where it's a pain in the ass to get gifts and all that stuff.
It's a fucking rookie mistake.
It is a rookie mistake, and I shouldn't, but I do, and then I get frustrated, and it's never, I don't know, it's not fun. But now that the 24th is here, this is when everything starts for me. We do Christmas at do it with my parents, my dad's side of the family today. We do it with my parents' side tomorrow. We also do Nish's side of the family in the morning, and then on the 26th. Basically, it's like 3 straight days of just Christmas. So it's fun. I love that part of it. So the gift-giving stuff I could take or leave, to be honest.
We've established that one. I was just curious how things were going. Because yesterday we had a Christmas dinner at my aunt and uncle's place. And we did a fire pit yesterday, and we made mulled wine on the fire pit.
Oh, you got the pot.
Yeah. Dude, like a cast iron pot. And it was pretty wild, and it was nice weather yesterday. It was like 0 degrees, -1, -2, floating around in there.
Yeah.
And no precipitation, very little wind, so we were outside, and it almost the whole time. It was amazing. It was great. It was real Christmas card-esque, those paintings you see of a deep winter snow and someone outside and by the fire and cooking something on the fire. It was exactly like that. So it was pretty great. It was on my bucket list of things to do, making mulled wine outside on the fire pit, and we did it, and it was awesome. They have a ravine lot.
A ravine lot.
Yeah, so it's like a bungalow that sits on a lot whose backyard goes into a ravine. So we were under trees and stuff like that. It was pretty wild. It was great. And owls. There were just tons of owls hooting. They actually make that sound, and it's exactly like every cartoon you've ever heard. It's hoo 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 hoo. I'm like, wow.
Did you actually see them or
no? It was pretty dark, so I couldn't see them, but they were hooting all over the place.
Hootie and the Blowfish? I thought I had a joke. I should not talk.
Stumbled and fell.
Stumbled and
pick yourself back up, and we're on the move again. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. That's the only reason I asked you about that, because I wanted to tell everybody how dope it is to make mulled wine outside on the fire in the middle of winter.
It's kind of cool. Good pictures. And we did mulled wine last year.
But we did it on the stove, right?
We did it on the stove.
So this one was a little different.
A little cast irony.
Yeah, a little cast iron. Yeah.
Are we going to do that for land party? Mulled wine?
We should, and he's got the gas fireplace outside.
Yeah,
there too,
yeah.
So if it's not too cold, we can definitely do that.
Beauty.
We'll probably be barbecuing for sure.
Oh yeah.
So
us,
yeah.
winter, Canadians, who cares?
Yeah, that's right.
A little snow never hurt anybody.
It's good stuff. Yeah. So that's it. You hear anything news wise? Anything you wanted to talk about? Bring up?
Bright, David Ayer's new one didn't. It seems like it's not doing so good.
Yeah, but you know what?
I didn't actually see the Rotten Tomato score though. I just read somewhere that.
Yeah, I was reading headlines. I don't think
Rotten Tomatoes is down, or I can't get through to it. It's weird.
Or your internet's not working.
No, my internet's fine, dude. I don't know. Weird.
That's what you think.
As far as I know,
everyone thinks their internet is fine until it's not.
Anyways, David Ayer sounds like he has like PTSD after like directing Suicide Squad. And some people tore him apart, and it sounds like they're doing it again. And he's been commenting on like it's pretty rough, like getting all these reviews that are not good. And David Ayer's, I mean, he's a very competent director, makes very interesting films, and he does them his way. I'd compare him to like a Zack Snyder in terms of like visually, he's got a certain visual tone that works in some instances, but sometimes his films aren't necessarily put together. I don't want to say properly, but conventionally.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's made 2 movies that I've really liked. I don't know if you've seen End of Watch.
I've been meaning to.
Check it out. It's quite good. And Fury, I think, is a really, really good movie. Like I actually enjoy that. Fury I use for sound and picture demo for home theaters. There's a scene where they take tanks across. And there's a bunch of infantry pinned down in a field, and they use a tank to get all the infantry, hiding behind the tank to save them. And these bullets are getting shot from the tree line.
Oh yeah.
And the sound design on that, bullets are like whizzing by, and they're using a lot of rear channel action there, and it's wonderful. And I think the movie's pretty great. The ending is the worst part. It's conventional. It's too conventional for Fury. But all in all, it's a wonderful sort of war film package examining a part of the war that you don't typically get movies about.
Right.
Is tank battle. So End of Watch that. Then he did a movie called Sabotage, which I kind of enjoyed that one, but it was sort of middle of the road,
right?
Yeah. And he did another movie with Keanu Reeves, which I also watched, which was also sort of the same. It's called Street Kings.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah. And then he did, Suicide Squad, which I enjoy purely on a fluffy sort of sugar high level. I know the movie is not. Anyway, going down a rabbit hole. Point is,
that was a bit of news that I looked at.
Yeah, the guy obviously puts his heart and soul into his movies, a lot like Zack Snyder, but sometimes what he produces just doesn't connect. And I don't know if Bright is that. I think there was a really popular scathing review of Bright that made a lot of headlines because I think the guy just went on to call it the worst movie of 2017 or whatever. And it's just like really sensationalized headline. But yeah, no, I'm gonna check it out. It's on Netflix, so I'm gonna check it out. I love the fact that he uses prosthetics, a lot of prosthetics.
Yeah, the orcs look good.
I'm in. I'll check it out. I'll give it its fair shake.
Fair shake.
But the guy is really getting
put over the coals. What is raked over the coals?
Raked over the coals. So gingerly being put over the coals.
Not ginger.
Either one, it's gonna burn.
Yeah, coals are not anything to be trifled with.
Yeah, that's.
You ever burnt yourself on a coal? I have.
On a sparkler end. That's not a coal though.
Close enough.
Yeah, that hurt. All right. So yeah, I didn't really have anything to talk about other than the fact I haven't seen Shape of Water yet. That's pissing me off, so I'm gonna have to find some time to do that.
Ditto.
But other than that,
soon. All right, you ready? We gonna get into this?
Go for it.
All right. This is Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the sequel that takes any preconceived notions that you had going into this film and literally throws them away.
Snoke them if you got them.
Nice. That was a good one. All right, so let's get into this. Obviously, we're going to start off talking general feel, maybe about kind of just how the movie was put together. Not talking about any spoilers. We'll talk about some of the characters, and then we'll start going into spoilers. So
yeah, I think we should
format.
probably jump in to the spoiler section relatively quickly. Because
Yes, there's so much. This movie's
so much,
giant. Like I was going through the plot points, and fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot. So general feelings, I liked the movie, but I haven't been so conflicted, or there was so much to unpack. The movie is what I would call is dense. It's a very dense movie. A lot of things happen. That are not that are so off the beaten path for a Star Wars film that you're kind of blindsided when you go in.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that's what I was hoping would happen. This is the movie I've wanted the studio to make for a long time. Since the prequels and then Force Awakens. I'll be honest with you, Force Awakens is like a fart in the wind.
Yeah.
Like it meant nothing. It wasn't a bad film. It just, I've seen it once and I have no need to revisit that movie because it's basically a safe fluff piece and it has a lot of like lazy sort of, right. I would compare it to Jurassic World. I feel like Jurassic World and Star Wars The Force Awakens are two movies that basically said, you know what? We're going to go and rip off the first movies in the series. And rip off is a strong word. Force Awakens does introduce some new concepts and stuff like that. But in general, like its impact was just so... I just came out of it. I'm like, yeah, did you have fun at the theater? Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
And then I just never thought about it again. Complete opposite with this film. And I know the one thing I asked for, like after seeing that movie, I'm like, oh, it's just like it was the safest Star Wars movie you can make. This is the as far as the canon goes, the most unsafe Star Wars film you can make, and I loved it for that. I love the fact that it was the key word here. It's a challenging movie. This isn't something that just like takes you for a ride, and then at the end you sort of you're spoon fed like what you want or what the audience wants. Says fuck that. I'm going to give you something totally different to like widen your palate. And it does that. And I think it's mostly successful, but because it's so challenging, I can see why a lot of folks don't like the movie because there is shit that happens in it where I was like, what the hell? Like, really? So that's kind of my general feelings. I liked it. I have problems with the movie, and we'll get into that. But I just applaud the fact that they did something different, and that overrules by a little bit the problems I had with the film.
Okay.
So
my thoughts. I agree with you in that. Yes, they did something very different. In fact, it felt almost like a kind of a fuck you to the fans who were bitching and moaning about like, oh, this is too much like Star Wars: A New Hope. Well, yeah, okay, here you go. Literally everything you think you, and that's the biggest problem. That to me, that's kind of it's a blessing and a curse because I look at it like Prometheus in a sense. So Prometheus sets up a bunch of questions and answers none of them. Yeah. This one not only does that from questions that were posed in The Force Awakens, but then it ends up not only not answering them, it almost disregards them or gives you an answer, and it's such
it falls flat.
Yeah, it completely falls flat. It's like, guess what? It's not even an interesting question. This movie almost hits the reset button on this trilogy now to some degree. Yeah. There's so many things that happen that are just it's just not what you expect.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's that kind of took me for a loop because some of the there are some, and we'll get into this obviously in the spoilers, but the most interesting questions, there's probably one or two, just don't get answered at all.
Sure, yeah, I know you're right.
And it bugs me. There's also a subplot in this film that literally goes nowhere. It just it's there. It's really it almost screams the prequels from before and like the bad stuff from the prequels before. It's just, I don't know. It tried, like, I feel like it tried to do some world building that just didn't go anywhere, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, the movie has some. It's so dense to the point where I, watching the film, sometimes wasn't sure why certain things were happening.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, oh, wait, what? Why are they doing this again? It's very fetch questy.
Yes.
Like, RPG, you get, go here and get the magical wand of, amazingness, and then go over here and get the cod piece of girthing, and whatever. And then so it sort of did feel like that, and the mechanics of the plot, I think, don't really work. Like they don't hang together in a nice way.
Not at all.
It's almost feel like they were writing for certain situations in a convoluted way so that they can execute on a theme.
Yeah.
The other person I think is guilty of this, I feel, is Christopher Nolan. I think Christopher Nolan writes convoluted scenarios to exercise theme. He's like, the theme is more important than the plot, so I'm going to wrap the plot around this theme, even though the wrapping is kind of jagged and it doesn't quite work. And I'm specifically talking about the fucking boat scene at the end of The Dark Knight. I still think that is like the craziest sequence of events where they're like, oh, here's our theme of the film, and I'm going to present it to you in the most literal, childish way possible. And not that it ruins the film, but it's a magnificent film. It's wonderful. It's just like and by the end, I'm just like, are you kidding? Like, really? You got Zeus here to represent the, the whole.
Yeah.
It's just like it just seems so cliched. Anyway, yes. So I feel like this movie is guilty of some of that sort of plotting to theme, rather than having that balance, and that causes a lot of these weird plot holes, and like sometimes I don't know what's going on, kind of thing.
And then I don't think length of the film is a problem, but density of the film
yes,
is a problem.
It was so
there was so much going on in the film, and a lot of it irrelevant.
A lot of characters
too to keep track of. They introduced this new character, I believe her name is Rose.
Rose, yeah.
They introduced her,
like Laura Dern's
character, Holdo,
Benizio's
DJ, I think.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have a bunch of new toys running around, which is cool. The dirty pigeons, the
dirty rabbit pigeons.
The dirty rabbit pigeons then you've got those
goddamn vermin
things that they ride, and the silver foxes or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting into. So anyway, it sounds like I'm complaining about the movie, but I personally, I'm a fairly stable yay.
Yeah.
And I think over time, I'm going to probably like it a little bit more. I do have a lot of problems with the movie, but I think after this is a movie where I'm like, I'd gladly see this movie again. Force Awakens, I have no need. I don't feel the need. I don't feel the urge at all.
If I see this movie again, it's more to figure out whether I actually hated it more than I thought, or if I actually like it more than I thought.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, I saw it once, and all I can think of is like, I'd like to see it again, only to really understand what the film got wrong for me and what it got right for me. Yeah. I think I understand it. I mean, fuck, we're doing a podcast on it, so I better to some degree. But I do want to check it out again and really just solidify some of my views on it. Really get like a good feel for where it misstepped, where it hit. I know where it hit. Like there's clear hits for me in this film, but like some of the stuff, I would just like, I came out of it like, what the fuck did I just watch? And some of the
performances. Mark Hamill really, he gives it everything.
The best.
He gives it everything.
Yep.
And I think he gives the best performance in the movie. I think he gives one of the best performances of his career. I think. And the others do a pretty good job. No slouches. The problem, I think, I have an issue with Benicio because I think he's so much. He's kind of quirky. He's kind of quirky character actor is what he used to be, And this is kind of like, maybe I don't have an issue with it because he's good at that. That's what he did, Like his character in The Usual Suspects was kind of like quirky.
Yeah.
But some of the quirks here I feel like feels a little forced sometimes.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But yeah, no, and the effects are amazing. They've done a great job. They used a lot of like physical effects, like animatronics. The filthy rabbit pigeon thing. What is it? What are they called?
I don't give a shit. I'm not naming.
Okay,
them.
yeah. Anyway, but they are actually
point for me in the film.
They're actually like physical effects in a lot of the scenes. And
what, for the little pigeons?
Yeah.
No
yeah.
way.
Oh yeah, sure. Like when they're sitting there and they're like kind of moving around side to side. They're definitely physical effects.
I'd have to. I don't even want to see it again. I don't like those things at all. I was pissed when I saw them. Like, what are they? What is the point of this?
Yeah,
it's not funny. I didn't think any of it was funny. Some of the gags that they did with those little shits, I was like, no, stop it. Like that's the prequel shit all over again. It's just like throwing stuff in for no reason. It's like garbage set dressing. I didn't get it. I couldn't, and I will not. I refuse to acknowledge them other than dirty pigeons.
Yeah, I didn't feel strongly one way or the other. If they weren't in the movie, I'd be happy. The fact that they are in the movie, I'm like, as long as you don't get in the way.
They did.
Yeah. All right. So
they did.
So
there was at least like a minute of the film, and change dedicated to just the stupid pigeons that went nowhere, just for a silly gag, and that's just the pigeons. Then you start talking about the we'll talk about it later.
Anyway. So I think what we're saying, like what I'm saying, is that I think there's a lot to this. It's a challenging film. It's got me to think a lot about the movie. I came out as a yay, and I think I'll like it more over time as I see it again, because it is a dense movie, a lot to unpack. That's my general feeling. Great effects. The acting was pretty good, like across the board.
You know who I didn't enjoy, and I hate to say it, but Carrie Fisher. She's very stiff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every line she delivered, like you can tell it's coming from the heart, and she does love playing Leia.
Yeah.
It might just be an age thing or whatever it is, but she's just very stiff in the way she delivers a lot of her lines.
Yeah.
It just wasn't.
She is. I kind of attributed that to, age. I don't know, maybe. But there's a definite stiffness, trying to be covered up as stoicism or like being stoic. It takes it a little too far in terms of like, it doesn't. Sometimes there doesn't seem to be any emotion there. But she does have a few key moments in the movie where I think that she delivered the goods. But you're right. In general, I did have I have a similar feeling about her performance.
Yeah. Other than that, everybody else was good. Laura Dern was distracting, but that's for other reasons.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, because I love Laura Dern.
I do too. Love her to death.
Yeah. So you want to jump into the spoilers?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Listener beware. Spoiler time.
Spoiler time. So do you want to kick things off? We're gonna follow the plot of the film just so we don't forget anything.
Talking on.
I didn't write any notes, so I am shooting from the hip, because this movie, had me jumping all over the place in terms of feelings and analysis and stuff. So I'm like, writing shit down didn't really make sense for me. So I'm just gonna play by ear.
So movie opens up and the rebels are trying to get away from their current base because
hold on, I'll stop you right there.
What?
The opening title crawl. Okay. Starts off with the what they call the First Order is reigning across the galaxy. I'm like, how is it that every movie that ends with the destruction of something so key to the First Order of the Empire, the next one is just like, oh yeah, they rule the galaxy now. It's like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I don't get to the point where I don't even ask questions anymore. I just assume that hey, they just they have a great plan B. Let's just put it that way. They've got a wonderful, amazing B team.
How they went from basically destroying the complete galactic empire with Darth Vader and the Emperor to all of a sudden, over the course of 20 years, let's say, give or take, this First Order becomes this level of a power in the galaxy. Like, what happened?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Did they say what happened to the Senate?
Not really, no. They just said, guess
Didn't
what?
they bring the Senate back?
No, they just said, I think that they brought the Senate back, or I honestly, I have no idea. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's a throwaway line to it where it's like, oh yeah, despite the Senate's efforts, the First Order rises to power. It's like, I'm always very confused. Like, how?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, in this one, they start stronger. That's why I didn't even ask the question. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
Fuck it.
It's kind of like
show me what you got.
It's kind of like a New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, where in A New Hope they blow up the fucking Death Star, and Darth Vader's flying through space, and hyperventilating in his TIE fighter. I love that scene where he's like spinning around like that. He's like,
yeah,
he's like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. And then the next movie starts off, it's like, oh yeah, the rebels are on the run, and they're getting massacred. I'm like, how?
Yeah,
can someone tell
it's
me?
Happening again.
You just blew up an installation they've been building for so long. They put so many resources, and then you blew the thing up.
Yeah,
0 setbacks, infinite money, infinite credits. It's just like it's crazy.
Doesn't
it
make
just,
sense.
It irritates me when that shit happens. But now I suppose that's just the norm.
I that's why that was the first lie that they told me in the film. Like they basically said, you know what I mean? Like when I say lie, like they're setting something up and you just kind of have to accept it as like this is what the film is that you're watching. I compare it to like the carrot scene in what's it called? Shoot 'em up.
Oh, I have not seen Shoot 'em
You
Up.
haven't seen Shoot 'em Up?
No.
In the first, I won't tell you what happens, but in the first 10 to 30 seconds of the film, it sets a very, very crazy tone.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So
That's right.
In any case, this is that same thing with this Galactic Empire. They're just there and they're always there.
It's just kind of it's just kind of like a sigh-worthy moment where you're like this makes, and we're gonna get to this. I think there's a lot of things in this movie that make the last movie. When I called it a fart in the wind, that is literally what it is.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a fart in the wind before this movie came out, this movie sure as hell makes it.
That's
right.
It's
just
interesting.
like it's just nothing. It's just a big nothing.
You know what's interesting is I enjoyed The Force Awakens more, and I didn't like this film very much because it's disregarding what happened in The Force Awakens.
Yes.
See what you're doing? You're kind of in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You didn't like The Force Awakens so much. You like this one a little bit more. So you're kind of just being like, well, everything that they're doing here, they're just disregarding that other one. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting.
Also, but it is a problem for me too. It's
Yeah.
like the First Order is in power again, and I'm like, you spent a whole last movie.
Oh, no,
like that kind of thing. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's not that I didn't like The Force Awakens. It just didn't have any impact. It fell flat for me. So if they're gonna what they do, and I think it fell flat for them. It's almost like they felt the same way I did. They're like, we don't really care. Anyway, so that's the first point I wanted to make. The title crawl, I was like, oh,
fine,
okay, I'm with you.
So yeah, then after the title crawl, they're trying to get out, and they bring in, you've got all these huge Star Destroyers coming out, and then they've got this giant fit. Yeah, Jesus Christ, they do. And then the best named ship of all time, the Dreadnought, comes out, and this thing's just massive. It's designed to just destroy, basically. And then you've got Poe's ship just flying up to it, and you've got that really fun. I think it's a fun scene.
Yeah,
basically, this whole opening, the Starfighter battle the TIE Fighter battle. Not TIE Fighter, sorry. TIE Fighter's X-Wing.
Yeah.
That battle looked great. I love the design of the bombers and how they use those to destroy the Dreadnought.
So quick thing about the bombers.
Yeah.
Those are actually, from what I can tell, I haven't read anything, but those are B-Wings, right?
I can't remember.
B-Wings were in, I believe, The Last Jedi. They were in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I played a lot of, X-Wing and TIE Fighter for the PC, the
I remember
flight
that game.
simulators.
Yeah.
And the B-Wings, and then you played Rogue Squadron for the 64.
Yeah.
The B-Wings were they were heavy bombers.
Yeah.
Almost all the time.
Yep.
Right? And they were the equivalent of the TIE bombers, which were those hexagonal or whatever ships. And what they do in this movie is that they make because the bombings the B-Wings were the bomber ships, but they never showed you how they dropped the bombs.
Yeah.
They kind of just
Yeah.
so in the games they did show you that, but in this movie they go into a lot of detail about how the bombs are dropped, and they're dropped in 0G. I don't know, whatever. That's not even an issue. But it is very World War II-y.
Yeah, for sure.
The way they went really sort of rustic with the whole bombing sequence stuff, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. It's a nice infusion. Again, it's not going to make all of the sense, but yeah. So and they're just big, fat, slow moving, and just one payload.
Yeah.
Destroyed the entire Dreadnought. So really, it is worth sort of, you talk about the speed, armor trade-off for these bomber things, it sort of made sense.
Yeah.
Right? They had one payload dropped on it and destroyed the whole Dreadnought. So
very,
very cool sequence. I did enjoy that. And it shows you the sacrifice that the rebels make, and how every death or every loss really does hurt them.
It hurts them, and it's neat how they acknowledge it too. I mean, they painstakingly go into it. They show scenes of all the fallen the planes or not planes, the ships and stuff.
Yeah,
Leia goes, rakes him over the coals over how many people he quote unquote sacrificed to do
gingerly.
Which I get, I guess he was a little bit reckless, but what was your exit strat? I didn't understand what her exit strat.
They would have warped out.
They would have just warped out.
Yeah, they would have just warped out. So So he was like, we have the opportunity to destroy this dreadnought.
Oh, okay. That was the thing I
or
missed.
we can just leave. And I like that because I feel like there's no obvious answer there from a tactical standpoint. But then again, the Empire, or sorry, the First Order is a fucking bottomless pit of wealth and resource. So the movie doesn't really show the Empire being I lost a dreadnought.
Yeah.
They're more like, oh, just bring the one of the other 8 trillion dreadnoughts we have lying around.
Yeah, exactly.
Tap into the same resources we use to bounce back from our, planet killer thing. Just build another one. So while the rebels, you feel the loss, you don't side with Poe because you don't like the First Order is just like meh.
Yeah,
It's a dreadnought.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Poe's making it a big deal. Right. I think that's more of a fault of the writing or maybe the editing. Maybe there is a scene in there where like someone does get like fired or whatever. Fired. I don't know. Whatever.
The galactic government, really.
Yeah, so I like the scene a lot. I wish they would have done more with the Empire, being like, "Oh, we just lost a dreadnought. It's a serious problem."
Yeah.
Rather than nothing.
Wow. Like if that was their only dreadnought, but you don't know. Like
Yeah,
you said,
you don't
bottomless
know.
resources.
Yeah.
I got that. To me, it seemed like that was their only big weapon, but then all of a sudden Snoke's ship comes out
it's
later.
just bigger
and it's
than
bigger than all of them put together. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, what the how do you at this point, like, it's just getting
Is
silly.
there enough room in space for these ships? Like, I don't get it. Like, you're literally running out of outer space.
Yeah.
Okay, so So anyway, we can keep moving. She gets pissed off with him and she demotes him.
Demotes him, yeah. And then the First Order is revealed to be able to track them through hyperspace, which nobody thought that they were able to do. Which,
That's right.
That kind of... See, here's where we get into the lazy writing of the film for me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, they're just like, oh, yeah, they can do that. Oh, they can do that? And then they're just kind of like, how do they do it? I don't know, something. We need a code breaker. Like, they just kind of, like, gloss over something that seemed, like, very, very important. And something that they had... I don't know. Yeah, they basically established in other films, like, you couldn't do that. Remember in Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams one?
Yeah.
When Scotty...
Yes, he finds a way to beam himself
in hyperspace, right?
Hyperspace, yeah.
And
or lightspeed or whatever.
In lightspeed or whatever. But basically, they give kind of a pseudoscience explanation of it. And it's just enough that you don't waste a lot of time on it, because realistically, how they're doing it is all science fiction, right?
Yeah,
It's not super important. But they give you enough, as the audience, they treat it with enough respect that they give you a semi-intelligent answer about it that you can just accept, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. In this film, it's just like, oh, shit, they got away. No, they didn't. And then they just write it into the thing. We can track them.
Yeah.
And then to me, like, it just didn't seem earned. It just seemed like something that they just shoehorned into the script, and they're like, and that's how they're gonna be,
Yeah.
Like, I personally, here's what I would have thought, because so just to skip ahead a little bit in the plot, they track them in hyperspace. They shoot away. They basically chop off their legs, and now they're essentially just going through space, just barely outrunning them the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like a one-legged race. They're just hopping along
Yeah.
until their resources run out, because the Empires aren't, apparently. And I'm going to keep calling them the Empire. I really don't care. It's the same shit.
Endless resources.
Endless resources. So basically, like, they're hobbling on. And that's kind of where they're at the whole time. They should have just gone to that with the dreadnought. The dreadnought should have just been able to get one shot off, and then they're hobbling along the whole time. This whole hyperspace thing should have been gone from the script, because then it leads to the side plot that I did not care for even a bit.
Of them,
of the casino and the master code breaker.
Okay.
So anyways, like I said, I kind of hopped along the plot a little bit there, because logically you kind of have to some degree.
Sure.
But that to me is like a lot of that was very lazy writing, from the tracking to hyperspace, the having to get the master code breaker to fix this. That was also lazy. That is also one of the worst fucking titles for anything that I've ever heard in my life. The master code breaker. What is, like, to me it sounded like an SNES title. Like, Super Master Code Breaker. It just sounded so dumb. Like, I was literally groaning. And the biggest pain in the ass of that to me is they got a character, probably my favorite new character in this whole series, Maz, to be able to deliver that message that you need to go get the Master Code Breaker.
So
and it was kind of a fun scene. Like, she's like, what was it, a labor dispute? And she's in like a heated like gunfight.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great. And then they just kind of don't use her again. And I'm like... Why introduce more characters when you've got a couple of really good ones that you really haven't explored?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I dropped a lot right there.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I do disagree on some points. I do think that I did like the casino scene. I agree with the whole code breaker thing just being like a groan-worthy cliche. There are other problems I had though, like the mechanics of getting them to that place. Like you said, the dreadnought would fall, like, you know, the dreadnought, like, just skip all of the whole tracking through hyperspace thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole tracking through hyperspace thing, I have a problem with that. And similarly, the way I have the problem with in Star Trek is because this new technology comes out, and then they find out how to. It's like nobody's been able to do this for like decades, and they're like, oh, they can track us through hyperspace, and this new character, Rose, is like, oh, this must be how they're doing it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that was probably like at least a couple of years of like R&D to like get there. You just like squashed it into 30 seconds. And I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that's lazy writing. I feel that's lazy writing. Where you write yourself into a corner where they have to know how it works in order to stop it. And if it's something so new, like how do they figure it out just like that? Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that upsets me about this. Or upset's a strong word. I was just kind of like irritated by it.
I was very irritated. But going back to Star Trek, I guess it is it's cheap in and of itself to have Spock be basically like the embodiment of being able to tell you exactly what to do.
Right.
Because he's the one that basically says, like, oh yeah, you just do it this way. And you believe it because he's got that knowledge and he's from the future.
Is that how it happens?
Oh yeah, Spock's the one that gives him the formula. He's like, here's you're good. You haven't discovered it yet. You haven't discovered it yet. This is it. And he's looking at it. And he's like, I never thought of it relative to da 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 da.
Oh, okay.
And then that's how.
So I take that back. It's been a while since I've seen the Abrams Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
So I take that back. But this one, they do nothing like that.
No, they don't. It's just Rose is apparently.
It's just like a prodigy.
Yes.
You know, working in the depths of this station, like, you know, like a plumber or something.
Or whatever she does. I still don't really. Yeah, she was a mechanic of some sort. I don't know. I didn't like her character very much. I don't think she offered much. She's a likable character.
Yeah.
But I don't think she offered much to the overall story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was just kind of there.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. It was. I would have rather they give her more to do. So.
Yeah, so they get tracked. Oh, so I guess we jump over to. Oh, sorry, they get tracked through hyperspace.
Yeah.
And they get attacked. And the bridge is completely blown out, and you know, Admiral Akbar dies.
Was that Akbar
flying through space?
Oh dear.
I don't know what. I think he was flying through space, but yeah, he was definitely on the bridge. Let's have a moment of silence for "It's a trap."
I think I said that in the theater when they came out. I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure I yelled out. I was like, "It's a trap!"
Yeah,
and it was completely involuntary. I'm sorry if anybody was offended or upset.
So yeah, they blow out the bridge, and then probably the first really odd scene of this movie happens, where you think Leia is dead, floating through space, and she opens her eyes and flies back to the ship. I think.
Yep, that's the best way anyone can describe it.
Yeah, so she sort of floats through space and like Mary Poppins her way back to the ship, and there is sort of like everyone's really surprised.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that everyone's like, "What the hell? Like really?"
Yeah.
Because that's how the audience is feeling.
Yeah.
Subsequently, there's no actual explanation for how that happens. But that didn't bother me that much, only because we've never seen Leia use her force powers.
Yeah.
Ever. Like not in the original trilogy, not in The Force Awakens, not in any film. So it was nice to see her use them. I'm assuming they're the force powers, not just something she ate before she flew out into space.
I mean, only it takes a very little push to get you going in space.
Yeah.
Zero
G's. So it was nice to see, like, you get over the initial shock of like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I went into acceptance almost immediately. It was like nice to see Leia's use of the Force being wildly different than other folks, because you know they're twins, right?
Yeah, they're twins. Yeah.
So it's like the power levels here are supposed to be like, you know, they're equivalent. Like they're both equally capable. and she manifests her powers in such a weird and strange and kind of crazy way. I like that. That was the first time. That was the first time I was like, what the hell am I watching? And then after she comes back, I'm like, no, I think I kind of like that. Yeah. So anyway, how did you feel about that?
I liked the idea of it. I mean, in the whole Star Wars extended universe, and I only have some knowledge of it, but Leia's very powerful with the Force. Like, it's established. She might be arguably more powerful than Luke. It's just that she's untrained, right?
Right.
In this, I don't know that I would have gone the direction of, if she does have this latent power that she doesn't really like flex her muscles on.
Yeah.
Would you do it in a way where she goes into the vacuum of space and is able to survive that? Like, that's extreme. That's really, really tough to swallow. And then all of a sudden, on top of that, you're also introducing the fact that, guess what? She can fly around in space, blow a door off, and then bring it and seal it back up, no problem. I mean, she opens it up. You know what I mean? Like,
did she? I can't remember.
Yeah. That's how she gets back in. She opens it, which, by the way, the second she opened it, everybody in the hallway should have into space.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, she goes into the thing, and that's how she gets in. And then she goes into her coma. But it was very jarring. Personally, I liked the idea, because I do like the idea that, Leia's got this crazy power behind her, and
she just does not like know how to use it.
She doesn't know how to use it.
But when she's pushed to a point where she has to use it for self-preservation, for example, like it manifests itself. Although it looks like she was well in control of
that's what
situation.
I mean. That was the problem for me. I think it was the fact that, like, they've never really acknowledged it, aside from, hey, she's probably got some big powers.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it's just like, guess what? There's this. And then on top of that, she doesn't really use it to help anybody else. Like, I mean, at that point, once they're all there, like, the way I would have looked at it is, they blow it off, and then the whole all the glass and shit shatters, and
brings them back in. Or
something. Not even that. Like, all of a sudden, everybody's just like holding their heads, and they're like, "Oh, we're all dead." And then they're looking around, like, "What's going on?" And then you just see Leia, like, sitting in the corner, basically like focused or something like that, and bleeding from like her nose, or like something showing that she's the one. Everybody gets out, she gets out, and then just collapses. That, like, something like that to me is more believable, and I think it would have been more heroic.
You're right. I think I would have liked something. I probably would have liked something where she was helping others.
Yeah.
Like manifesting this big power.
Yeah.
In a way that was helping other people. What it is in the film, I don't mind it. I like it gives just the right amount, a hint of how powerful she really is.
Yeah. And it's nice seeing that. My other issue too with it was the visual of how it was done. My buddy, I think it was Bonesy, said it. Basically, he's like, what it looked like was, that scene in Batman versus Superman where Superman gets him and Doomsday are in space, and then he's just kind of hanging out there and just starts floating away and then floats back in.
Yeah.
That's what he compared it to, and I'm like, I can kind of see that visual, and it just didn't like. The floating thing just looked weird. It just didn't look. I don't know. It's hard. Like, and also just the concept of like her essentially being dead in space and then being able to come back and float into the ship, and I don't know. It was just a little bit much to swallow all in one go.
Yeah. So jumping back to the First Order here, Kylo Ren has a couple of scenes before this, and he's attacking the ship, and he senses his mother on the bridge. He doesn't shoot. The other TIE fighters shoot. Yeah. They blow out the bridge, and Leia has her power moment. Kylo Ren in general. I found him to be really annoying.
Yes.
In the last film.
Yes.
In the last film.
Oh no.
In this film, film, I think he's still annoying.
Yeah.
He frustrates me.
Yes.
But they flesh him out to the point where he's just a frustrating character. Yeah. Like, I think that they were trying to construct someone who's just unsure of everything, right? And he's inherently annoying. He's like a child. Like, he's an annoying child.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of character they were constructing. I'm frustrated with him. I think that's what they wanted. I think they were constructing a character where the audience is like, yeah, it's like taking care of a teenager who's like a moody teenager. And but yeah, so I feel like he's super annoying. I didn't find him particularly like captivating, but more in the sense of, I think that they have so much room for this character in the next movie. I feel like a lot of this stuff is going to pay off.
Yeah.
We'll see. So he has these scenes where he's just like, it's, the First Order scenes were just like, it's just like two crybabies.
Yes.
It's just like two crybabies like vying for power.
Papa Snoke is like trying to,
Papa
picking his favorite child.
It was more like a
of the litter.
sitcom.
Yeah,
it was like a weird
stupid.
sitcom. It was like,
it at all.
Home Improvement Star Wars edition where, Tim Taylor is played by Snoke. And you've got like these two kids that are just like total pains in the ass. And
oh no, my Roomba's going off. Hold on, I'm gonna turn that off.
Oh my god.
It's a droid.
It's a droid. Oh jeez, there it goes. There it goes. Shut it, Roomba.
That was amazing.
Shut it. Anyway, yeah, super annoying. But they give him more. What do you call it?
More of a push? I don't know.
Oh man, jeez, motivation.
Oh.
Way more motivation in this film, and yeah. So he has these scenes where these two guys, they're just crying.
Yeah,
they're just like whining. They're just like little babies. Babies.
Yeah.
General
Hux is the most punchable face in the universe. Every time
no,
I see
they both
him,
are though. Their faces are nothing to write home about.
No, I'm not talking. There's something about the Hux character that just seems like very like I don't know. Maybe it's the way he
like
sticks out
snooty.
his chin and snooty.
Oh yeah.
Like at least Kylo Ren doesn't have that snootiness, but General Hux, oh my god, I don't know how any of his commanding officers don't just punch him in the
Yeah,
face.
I don't see how he gets any respect, and he doesn't really. He just kind of gets stomped all over in this movie. Rightfully so. He's an irritating character. They're both pretty irritating. So while Kylo Ren has been sort of fleshed out, Hux is just. I don't know. It's just they're just bickering.
He's just
like,
there.
They're whiny. They're both whiny, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like to the point where you're like, I'm just tired of seeing these two guys.
He's just there.
Whine, just like whiny little babies.
Well, let's table Kylo Ren for now because
Okay,
I want to
yeah.
I want to go into because he's very problematic. I think Adam Driver's a very good actor, and I think he plays this role well. My problem is
He's also jacked.
he's jacked. Yeah, he's big.
What?
There was a couple of shirtless
There
scenes.
was a
where
shirtless scene. I was
he's
like,
big.
whoa, that guy is not small.
But yeah, my problems with him are going to the uncertainty of his character and the fucking temper tantrums, the fist, the punching,
smashing the
helmet thing, and I just whatever. It's fine, but like I wanted his character to go somewhere, and it's where they're going. I don't know that I like yet. So like I said, we'll table that until later because that you'll hear me bitching though.
Yeah.
So then where do we go from here?
Like Rey.
Yeah, I was
Like,
going to
so-
say,
yeah,
let's
we
start
can
talking
go
about that because to me, everything about this plot is what I wanted to see in this film. Like, this was the stuff, and I think everything was pretty well put together acting-wise. I think that I don't know, I guess some of the direction that they went, I don't know that I agree with, but
Sure.
like the anything Luke and Rey,
Yeah.
I was on board with. That was the stuff I wanted to
So
see.
yeah, I feel like a lot of these scenes were kind of like some of these scenes were kind of bloated. There's a lot of like Luke just like walking up really large hills.
The first day in the life of Luke Skywalker, where he's running around hills, he's milking that whole thing. I was just like, this. I'm never watching
Well,
this.
man, milking the beast on the shore there. That was just
Lapping that milk up.
yeah, he's getting it all in his beard.
Oh, God.
I'm like, I feel like they could have had a couple more dialogue scenes rather than the milking.
Very
scene,
impractical
the
fishing,
lactating scene. They did have this one shot, and in the background you see this like giant sea monster.
Yeah.
Like going in the
Yeah.
background. I wanted to know about that sea monster a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not this lactating beach whale. Like, that was just weird and disgusting. But yeah, so like mostly like I love their interactions. He is a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
In this movie, and if you're not on board with that, then you will not like this movie at all. He's old. He's get off my lawn. Like literally, he tells her to leave.
Yeah.
While she's standing on his lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so we'll jump back a little bit. So the last film obviously ends off on
yes.
her handing Luke this lightsaber that's been a big focal point of the last film. Where did it come from? Why did he leave it wherever he left it? The Force is literally talking to Rey through it. There's all these questions. And then he gets it, and the first thing he does is he fucking tosses it. He's just like, nah. And that's like the joke that we started on. That's what I mean is like, I felt like that was Rian Johnson being like, yeah, you thought you knew what it was? No. We don't even want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they went with it. And I just, as soon as I saw that, it was very jarring for me as an audience member. Like, I just paid $20 to see this in IMAX, and you are literally taking the one thing I wanted to see and just making a joke out of it?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's not... And I want to level set the expectations here. When I was growing up, my two heroes, Optimus Prime and Luke Skywalker, those were my two, like, childhood heroes.
Two good ones.
Right?
Good ones.
So, like, to see that and be so excited that Luke's going to be coming back, do something like that, I was just like, that was not the right way to start it off. Another thing I wanted to mention, too, what was with all of the jokes? Like, not all the jokes. Star Wars has always had some bits of comedy into it, right? That's not my problem. But I wish I remembered some of them off the top of my head now. But there were some very inappropriately timed jokes where it was just like, I don't get it. Like, why would you?
I loved the reach out thing. When she's like, and he's like, you know, she's got her eyes.
Oh,
he's
and
got
the
her
thing
eyes
that was good.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious.
You know what? You know when I just
and
thought
it was like it was a joke that played into the plot. Too.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Training you're a novice and somebody. The thing that I didn't like was, where are you from? Nowhere. Where are you from? And then she's like, this is like, oh yeah, that's pretty much nowhere. I was like, you're building up a very dramatic big moment.
Yeah.
And they did that a few times throughout the film. I'll probably remember a couple more as we go. And those, I was just like, why are you Disneyfying this? Like, take them, like, if you're gonna have a serious moment, take the moment. Take the serious moment. Don't cheapen it with some quippy joke for no reason. And they did that a bunch of times in this film. When it wasn't appropriate.
That didn't really bother me.
No?
I don't know why.
I don't know. It bugged me. It was immediately obvious.
Because you know what? I feel like Luke is almost like he's Yoda. He's like Yoda in this movie. A lot of things are similar. He's been gone for a long time. He's isolated on his own, like, you know, little
He's not
planet.
like Yoda. He is Yoda.
Yeah, but what I mean to say is Yoda was hilarious too.
At the beginning, but the thing is he's at that point he was using that hilarity as a certain driver to test the character of Luke. And then after he turned that switch and you realize, holy shit, this thing is Yoda.
Yeah.
You don't see another joke from Yoda for the rest of the for the rest of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
From that all the way down to Return of the Jedi.
But I also think that Luke Skywalker has had a personality. Yoda didn't. Meaning Yoda didn't have history when he was first shown, right? Luke has a personality. You saw him grow up. You know that he's not Yoda. He is a fallible human being that learned how to use the Force, right? He's not the end all be all, right? So he still has his personality. He still has it. So,
but the problem with that is, which Luke Skywalker are you getting? Are you getting the one that is that character that you're talking about? Yeah. That is, you know, you've seen grow and this and that? Or do you get curmudgeoned, grumpy old Luke Skywalker living alone?
I mean, like one changed into the other.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it's not that he changed
vestiges of his old personality. Obviously,
he didn't change into the other. He changed back and forth between that character whenever it was convenient to the plot or convenient to make a joke. He didn't just start and be one. It would have been okay if he was grumpy old man, grumpy old man, grumpy old man, and then he wasn't, and then you saw him start coming out a little bit more. He would go back to grumpy old man very, very quickly a lot of the times, and then sometimes, just for levity's sake, you'd see a little thing. The scenes that were really good was when, like, my favorite scenes for Luke, I think, there was two.
Yeah.
When Chewie busts down that door.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a great scene. And when he's just walking around silently on the Millennium Falcon and then he sees R2-D2, those were such nice moments to see.
Yeah, that was nice.
But and that's the thing is, it's that stuff, it sort of cracked his grumpy armor.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, there were still parts in the film where it just didn't seem, I don't know, the day in the life.
Yeah.
That was so bad. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
I wasn't too on board with it either.
No, it didn't make sense in terms of, like, it didn't fit the character at all. Like, he's like, I don't know, he just seemed too happy about what he was doing. He just like, do. But then you go back into this kind of dark, kind of like, oh, I don't want to do it. I didn't like what they did in that front. But
it didn't bother me as much. I sort of like the fact that he was still kind of. He still had a bit of a crackling personality. It's maintained through the film because later he does, you know, he's got the moment where he winks, at C-3PO, and he's got like that moment where he says, you know, see you around, kid, that kind of thing. Like, and I think that's a Han line, right? Yeah. But like he still has vestiges of his personality. Yeah. Maybe they're not cut in a more organic way.
Yeah.
But I think they were trying to show that he's not just a serious old man. Like he is like someone that you guys grew up with.
Right.
He still has
and as he develops into that, throughout the film, I'm okay with that. It's the sporadic kind of like in some instances where it's just tangenty, like it's like, again, it goes into the shoehorn thing. It almost seems like they're just shoehorning in funny stuff for Luke Skywalker to do when it's not appropriate for him to do so. But like the wink and everything later in the film, amazing. Almost picture perfect for me in terms of how the character works. It's just that there were certain, and this is me complaining about my favorite stuff in the film.
Yeah, okay.
But these are pretty small complaints for that. I think that they could have done some things better, but overall, I thought that everything they did on, I think it was Atul is the name of the place.
Atul. Yeah.
I thought that those scenes were genuinely pretty.
Oh
good.
yeah, anytime they were talking, I feel like anytime they had dialogue, I was very happy.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. He gives a pretty great performance, a very earnest, sort of genuine performance. And he's disillusioned with the Jedi, and he's convinced that they need to end, and it all amounts from this, taking on a couple of new students after Return of the Jedi, and something bad happening, and that you learn about what happened with Kylo being one of his Padawans, and you learn that what happened over the course of the story. But these scenes with Rey and him are pretty good. He throws the lightsaber, but it's not lost.
No, they go back and get it.
I legitimately thought that he threw it and it was gone forever. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I kind of like that. That it's just, it's like everything. Yeah, I see why this has split people, because I wasn't so I didn't like The Force Awakens all that much.
Yeah.
Or I didn't feel bound to it. And so him throwing it away, I was just kind of like, okay. Like, we can start something like new.
Yeah.
But they still use the lightsaber, and they have their dialogue about the Force and what it is. I thought was brilliant. Like, it's so well written.
Yes.
And what it is, all of the stuff that connects us. It's explained in a way that is so simple yet effective.
Yeah.
And it's not like anybody owns it. Like, he goes into this whole thing about like, everybody has that power, and that's the theme of this film. Mm-hmm. The theme of the movie is that people, like individuals, aren't important, right? Like, everybody has this power to do something special, and you can start a rebellion.
Yeah.
At any point with anybody, that kind of thing. So they're really pushing this theme through the whole movie, and I'm definitely on board with that. I like that a lot.
I just realized something. How many times did they say hope during this goddamn movie?
Oh yeah, it was a lot.
I would have if I watch this movie again, I'm definitely gonna have a ticker tape on that and just start noting it a number of times. I'm sure somebody's already done that, but in any case, like, how many times did they say hope? They said hope so many friggin' times. I was like, come on, I get it. Like, you need hope.
Yeah,
keep going.
So back on the ship here, Holdo is put into command, who is Laura Dern's character. Now, I took personal offense with her leadership here. She's supposed to be a seasoned admiral, a seasoned veteran of the rebellion, and she makes the dumbest choices. When you're leading something like that, and I mean, look, a lot of it comes from, if you're a manager or something like that, transparency is so important.
Yep.
To keep your team, motivated, to keep everybody contextualized. Like, here's what you're doing, and here's why it's important to, what we're trying to achieve. Whether it's a company, whether it's whatever. She purposefully boxes everybody out of a plan. So everyone's just sitting there waiting to die.
Yep.
And I just didn't get it. I'm like, I don't get it. Did I miss something? I thought I missed something. There's a couple of things. So this is where my massive problem with this movie is. Mm-hmm. This whole plot about them being chased by the ship. They can outrun the ship, and they're far enough that
they can't reach them.
Well, they can reach them. I guess the power of these laser shots that they're taking at them, this artillery, wanes over a distance.
Yeah.
So by the time it hits them, it's not very strong, and the shields can more than handle the bombardment.
Yep.
Fine. They have to explain all of this in dialogue that happens so fast. They set up this entire situation, and it's so convoluted, yet a couple of things happen. People are able to leave the ship and fucking come back. No problem.
Why not send TIE fighters to board? Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Like none of this, like this whole situation, it's an interesting situation, but only because it's an interesting situation, it has no, like, you can't build anything that makes any sense to introduce the situation. Again, I'm coming back to the Dark Knight where they bent over backwards to make the ship thing happen. They did exactly the same thing here where they bent over backwards to be like, okay, let's just have people talking, explain the minutia of why this situation makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst type. I feel like it's the worst type of exposition where you're like trying to set up this really convoluted situation. So yeah, I wasn't on board with that. The whole situation was interesting.
Yeah.
Just like the boat thing was interesting, but I wasn't captivated by, like, I had to let go of like a lot of questions I had.
Yeah.
You know, and Poe and Finn and Rose, like Finn and Rose go shoot off the main ship.
Yeah.
And they go to this other planet looking for the code breaker because they want to get into Snoke's ship to deactivate the tracker so that they can jump into hyperspace and not be tracked. Okay. So they just fucking leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so you can just leave
Yeah.
now? Okay, then why doesn't everybody just fucking
Yeah.
leave, right?
Yeah.
Now, Laura Dern's character, the Admiral's got this plan that she's not telling Poe. I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe it's like some sort of weird offensive they're going to take, or there's something that Poe doesn't know.
Yeah.
That maybe, you know what I thought would have worked way better? Would have been, they're not tracking them through hyperspace. There's a mole on the ship.
Exactly.
So she's like, I can't tell you what we're going to do because I suspect someone on this ship is feeding the First Order information. Cool. Makes sense. None of that happens.
No, they were. To me, it seemed like they were setting up Laura Dern to be the evil person or the mole.
Yeah,
and even then, I was like, I mean, that makes sense, but it was just bad leadership the whole time.
No, it was just simply there was no reason for it. It was,
There was
simply
absolutely
bad,
no reason.
It was simply
for it.
bad leadership because the plan, as it turns out, is they're just going to evacuate the ship.
Yeah. We're going to go as far as we can, and then we're going to evacuate the ship, and then they'd be under cover of some kind, right? That was the thing I didn't understand.
Yes. I did not understand that. I was borderline furious with what was going on.
Yeah.
Right? They leave, and we're jumping ahead of the plot, but they leave the ship, and they just get shot down anyway. Like
that's because, and this is where I don't understand.
Benicio del Toro's character.
Benicio del Toro, who's never met them or been on that ship, somehow knows exactly what they're going to do, and is like, "Hey, First Order, they're over there."
Yeah. So I have a lot of problems with that part, but we'll get there when we get to Benicio's character. This is turning out to be a long episode, but
it's going to be. Yeah.
But yeah, so this whole thing about like the Admiral Laura Dern's character holding back information.
Yeah.
She is just a poor leader.
Yes.
Like, what was the purpose?
No.
I'd love to hear. Wouldn't you want your whole crew being like, okay, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So everybody get ready. Yeah. Forget about whether it's an effective plan or not, but just keeping people informed. Like, why are you keeping it away from Poe? And Poe has... Why are you doing it? Because you want to make Poe act drastically.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a function of the plot, again, into this convoluted sort of plot, where you're like, oh, just... we need Poe to get frustrated and do something dumb. So this is how we're gonna do it.
And also, it seemed like they were like, you know what, we want to make it kind of ambiguous. Maybe she's a bad guy. Maybe she's a good guy. Oh no, she's actually a good guy. But they can still track. Like they're adding more
layers,
conflict and layers to something that it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Guess what? They can track you through hyperspace, so you're gonna have to keep limping. Why are we devoting time on this conflict when there's really only one way out, right?
Yeah.
Keep going as long as you can until you get to until you get to a system where for some reason you can get cover and get to a place where you will be safe. Like, go there and that's it. But like spending more time on this, and again, this makes it a way more bloated, dense movie.
Oh, yeah.
Is because you're devoting all this time to Laura Dern's character being potentially a good guy, potentially a bad guy, and then it turns out she's a good guy. It's more shit that they throw in a movie that goes nowhere.
Yeah. This is definitely a subplot. The whole Poe. I like Laura Dern as a character. I like the idea that there are other admirals and there are other capable characters, and I thought that's where they were going with that. But literally, they took her character and they made her incompetent.
Yeah.
They made her almost like mean spirited. It's like she wasn't telling Poe. It's like, I know something you don't know, kind of thing. Where it's like, what purpose did that serve? In the end, when she finds out the plan, and Poe's like, oh, that's what you're gonna do. I see why you kept it from me. what? No, I don't. What the fuck? Like, why didn't you just say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that irritated me a lot. Because I love Laura Dern.
Yeah.
I think she's great. She's an amazing actress, and but she does have a great redemptive moment.
Yes.
But like they really made me dislike her.
I also thought she was just distracting because like as
like
soon
the way
as
she was dressed.
there was the way she was dressed, the purple hair wig thing, and then on top of that, just Laura Dern walking into Star Wars just without much like they're like General Holdo, and then all of a sudden she walks in and is like fucking Laura Dern, Sattler, like
Ellie Sattler,
yeah. And like I said, it's not that she put in a bad performance. I don't think she did. Mm-hmm. It's just every time I saw it, I was like, fucking Laura Dern.
It's Laura Dern.
It's Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. That's how I found it.
So anyway, they figure out they have this call with Maz.
Take that off the table. It's vibrating into the mic.
Sorry. They have this scene with what's her name? Because I don't even remember her character.
Who? I don't know who you're talking.
Maz.
Maz. I can't remember her last name.
It's a totally CG scene where she's, and then she's like, "Oh, you need to get onto Snoke's ship."
Yeah.
Okay, you need the master code breaker or whatever. So then they leave. They go and they leave without issue.
Yeah.
They just leave. And they go to this planet, this casino planet. You obviously didn't like this one. No. I actually liked the idea of them finally showing some like upper class Star Wars citizens, because Star Wars has always been a dingy, kind of gross, lived-in feel. You've never actually seen sort of like the upper echelon of society, and it was kind of cool to see that. I did like that. The whole subplot about the racing animals, didn't think was needed at all.
No.
I could have done without that.
If they treated this more like Mos Eisley in Tatooine, where they're like, we got to go to Mos Eisley and find a smuggler or somebody to get us over here, and then they just treated it like that, I would have been way more on board with it, because I totally agree with you. Like seeing that the how the rich live in this this universe, and the fact that they're essentially all warmongers, right?
And how they got rich.
Exactly.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
They touch on it and then it just disappears.
Fart in the wind.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
That was super interesting.
Yeah.
You guys should have dedicated a little more time on that.
Exactly.
Del Toro, I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but Benicio's character, I was almost like Benicio's character should have been a dealer himself.
Absolutely.
And he should have dealt in, it should have been, I thought the reveal at the end was going to be, oh, that was my ship, right? And I've sold to both of you guys.
Yeah.
You're both idiots. Like that kind of thing, right? But they don't do anything with it. And it was so interesting when he switches, like, oh, selling weapons to the bad guys. Ba-doop. And it shows the X-Wing, to the good guys too. I'm like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, and then they don't mention it again. Yeah,
I was like, come on.
Yep.
Oh, it's so
that
good.
was the most interesting stuff about it. But the thing is what they were doing, the codebreaker stuff and all that, that whole subplot for me, it was just like, and it falls completely flat. Everything fails.
Yeah, but you know what? I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how everything fails. They end up on Snoke's ship and everything falls apart, and they can still track them through hyperspace if they were to jump. I think the whole movie is about it's almost comical, because it's about the rebellion failing again and again and again and dying. Like, this is really just a rebel massacre, this film. We're talking about how much it cost them, like those bombers at the beginning. They take that to almost comedic levels later in the movie. I swear to God, there's like 4 guys left out of like 4 million people. Like, there's
rebellion?
like 4, there's like 4 dudes left. Yeah. And it's just comical how many of them die.
Yeah.
Like, the death toll in this movie is catastrophic. It's like, I just started laughing after a little. I'm like, I feel like sometimes in the editing room, they're like, oh, we need more ships because we need to blow up more people. Like, it was like almost seemed, mean-spirited after a little while.
There was like a couple dozen people maybe in that final place. Maybe 3 dozen people, if that.
Out of thousands.
Out of thousands. Yeah. It's just, it was crazy.
And them just crazy. Like, the ships that are like literally running out of gas and like slowing down and then just getting annihilated by the dreadnought.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys. This is really dreary stuff. So, it was funny. But it's almost like in The Revenant, where Leo's plight is so awful that it's almost funny. Like the moment where he like takes the horse off the cliff and he has to hide in its innards. I'm like, this is just.
That's unfortunate.
I'm like, come on, guys! Like this is starting to get like a funny how awful this situation is. So yeah, that's how I felt about the like level of destruction on the rebel side. Anyway, so they're on this planet. They sorry, you got some stuff written.
No, I was. This is just plot. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, they're on this planet. They have this little like racehorse and analogous animal that that they're using for racing and stuff. And it turns out Rose is from here. Is that did I get that right?
I think so.
Yeah. So
or
like,
a planet like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was from that place in particular, but basically the whole analogy is that like this is how the rich live, and then they abuse the poor, and they become their slaves, and this and that.
So they get caught.
Yeah. For parking infringement.
For parking violation.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And they get thrown in jail, and they meet Benicio's character, who has a tick that I feel like they came up with on set the day of shooting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think Benicio's a great actor, and he can be weird and quirky. This is not. I don't think this is one of his lesser efforts for the quirky character. He's got this weird. I think it's a stutter of some kind. But he's super cool. He's just Benicio cool, so that kind of overshadows it. So he turns out he's kind of a code breaker. He breaks out of his cell
very
instantly.
Easily. Yeah.
And like, why was he just waiting there? Did he just want company to leave? Because like, I can't escape on myself.
He actually works there. He's the janitor. He just goes and sleeps.
He locks himself.
Yeah, he got evicted from his hotel, from his place, and he's just like, you know what? Those cots are pretty good. I'm gonna go and take a walk.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but like he escapes from his cell. He's like, finally, I have friends. I can escape now. So he escapes, and they get split up, and they have this big escape from the thing where they jump on one of these beasts of burden, these horse sort of analogous to horses, and they run. He steals a ship. They escape. This whole thing. I did like what they did with the casino. I can't. I like that visual thing. That visual that we haven't seen before. This upper echelon. They have this one gremlin-like character that's doing something really fun. I actually thought that was funny, where he's trying to put quarters into
BB-8,
and he puts a ton in there, and then there is a payoff later with the quarters. It is kind of cartoony, but it did make me laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
And is there anything else about that scene? The actual code breaker I thought was going to be some weird cameo.
Yeah,
but
I didn't
recognize who was playing the code breaker, because they end up finding Benicio in the cell. The actual code breaker's playing the tables, and they get thrown in jail before they could talk to him. Yeah.
I thought it was going to come out that like Benicio was the guy, and that other dude stole his lapel thing or whatever. Whatever. That's not important.
Yeah.
The things that just didn't work well with me on this planet, the world building, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Seeing the contrast between the rich and the poor, how they got there, that's the interesting stuff, and they didn't focus on that. Instead, they opted to spend more comical time on things like them running away from the cops. Mr. Gremlin guy, though funny, and you do get the payoff with the coins later, not necessary.
Yeah.
The whole jail escape thing and them riding in that to me just screamed prequel CG nonsense in certain elements. That a lot of it just could have been streamlined so much better, and it could have been way more interesting.
Thematically, the expression of suppression and like freedom, is definitely encapsulated in that scene. So I think that's why it was included. This whole idea of slavers, right, and the idea of like freeing these, I can't remember what they're called, but probably one of the weaker design elements of the film. To be honest, it was they were kind of meh. The other designs were pretty good, but. I think this whole idea of like freedom and them freeing them, and the whole rebellion and hope thing was like encapsulated in that one sequence. And I agree, though. Like I think that the theme was pretty strong throughout the movie. They didn't need to have that. Yes. But I do think that they needed to have the casino scene and the the war profiteers and the ones that are selling weapons and all of that stuff. That was just it was too interesting to pass up.
Needs a strong word. I don't think they needed it, but I think that it could have enhanced the environment had they done it properly.
Right.
It's just, to me, they go cartoony, and I didn't appreciate that portion of it. So.
Right.
But that it is what it is. It introduced the concepts of some of those orphans, right?
Yes.
And those I want to touch. We'll touch back at them towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll continue on. There was something else that I mentioned or I read that I wanted to mention. A couple things actually. I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
So Rey ends up going into the dark side cave.
Oh yeah, I was gonna jump back to Rey.
Yeah, go because I was confused by that. So she goes in.
He has this seance thing with her where he's like,
Right.
feel the force.
Right.
Loved that sequence.
And then
where
he
he's
freaks out.
She sees this darkness down there, and he gets scared. He's like, you went right to it.
Yeah.
And I've seen this before. I'm scared.
And that was
It was good. Really
done.
well done.
I like
well
that
done.
a lot. But then she actually goes to the cave, and that's what I was confused by.
Oh man, this thing
It
was
was
a
so
weird, sort
weird.
of crazy high concept thing going on. This infinite mirror that she was looking at, where it was just images of herself replicated.
Trying to find her parents, basically, that's kind of what it all boils down to. She just got mommy and daddy issues, really.
So what I'd like to say here is that after I saw The Force Awakens, her parentage was a subplot that I never even realized was a thing.
Really?
Like, by the end of The Force Awakens, everyone's like, but who are her parents? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't like, I didn't get that from the movie. I didn't get I didn't think there was any mystery. I didn't think it mattered. Like, when I left The Force Awakens, I'm like, everyone was very much like, oh, is like Luke her father? Is blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't think there was anything in The Force Awakens that plays up the mystery of her parents. It didn't resonate with me at all. Like, it wasn't something that was a question that needed to be answered for me.
Okay.
So the way they treated it in this movie was pretty funny for me, because it was like, it actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what they.
Yeah.
That's
what
essentially
they
what they amounted to. I know that folks who felt that there was a setup for her parents and all of that stuff are sort of disappointed with the fact that, or could be disappointed with the fact that it actually didn't make any difference. But for me, I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, I never thought it mattered. Like, I didn't think that the movie played that up at all.
So I thought The Force Awakens did, for sure.
Really?
There was at least a few scenes where they brought it up as kind of like big parts of that character. And then in this one, they focused on it a bunch of times in terms of like, who are my parents, who are my parents, who are my parents. Yeah, guess what? Nobody. You spent a whole bunch of time on it, and not a whole bunch of time in it in this film, because it got brought up quite a few times. And then the last one setting it up as well. You've spent some time in the last two films, and now all of a sudden, guess what? Doesn't matter. Now, I don't actually think that's the right answer. Not that it's the right answer. I don't think that's the answer. I think that something about this is, and I'm going to kind of go into where I was going with the orphan stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to come into effect later to find out that, guess what? I don't think that Kylo or Snoke or whoever told her that they're nobody, I don't think that they actually know, or if they do, they're not telling her.
Oh, okay.
I think that there's some other kind of subplot, or not subplot, there's some other kind of thing going on where you've got, you know how Anakin was basically just created, right?
Like, he was Jesus.
He was basically, he's like Force Jesus.
Right.
I don't know if this is my theory, but you've got all of these orphans.
You don't know if this is your theory?
No, I haven't
your
flushed
theory.
it. This is my theory right now. I haven't flushed it out yet. But you've got her being this orphan that got dropped off somewhere on, I can't remember what the name of the planet is, and then and she's super strong with the Force. And then you've got this orphan kid on this other planet who's definitely Force sensitive at the very end of the film.
He does grab the mop.
Grabs the mop with the Force.
Yeah.
And he's an orphan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's something to do with, like, the Force is trying to compensate for all the darkness that the unending resources that the First Order has.
Yeah.
But maybe you've got all of these Jedis that were, infants that were sent all over the place. I personally think her parents might be Jedi, or maybe these were all, like, immaculate births or whatever you call it, like Jesus births.
Like midichlorian births?
Midichlorian births or whatever the hell. And they were just distributed around the galaxy or something along those lines. I don't know. Just to show that there's all of a sudden another orphan-like child that is very Force sensitive at a young age. I mean, very Force is a strong word, but the kid's tiny and dude's grabbing stuff without actually touching it, right? Yeah. So to me, I think that that's going to play up. I don't think that her parents are nobody. I think there's something there, and I think it's going to play into those orphans.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I see that going. But I don't know. I was more upset by the way that they addressed it in the film, her parentage, because they just kind of throw it aside, very much like the lightsaber thing. Like, just fucking throw it aside. Who cares? Doesn't matter. We set up all this time. You spent money on that last film. You've seen it X number of times. Guess what? It was all a waste of time. We're doing away with all that stuff. And that was the stuff that kind of bugged me. But then as I'm starting to think critically about this, there are other places they can go. Should I set my expectations high that they go there? No, I shouldn't. I mean, if anything, if this film showed me anything, it's that you can't necessarily trust that the studio or the filmmakers are going to do exactly what you think or maybe deep down want.
Right.
You just got to hope that they do justice to whatever, I don't know, whatever the source material is, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna disagree. While I see the direction that you're talking about, I'm gonna disagree only because I think the theme of this film strongly is bullheaded in its
Hope.
Discarding of the individual and the the uprising can be anywhere with anyone. So the idea that saying her parents don't matter is proving that it's not blood, it's not where you come from, right? It's who you are, right? So I feel like the movie is trying, and heavy-handedly, but in using the parents and fobbing them off so nonchalantly, the fact that they don't matter is saying, okay, anybody can do this. Like we need to start the spark that starts the fire that starts the whatever, like all of that stuff. Where like you can do, anybody can do this. Anybody's capable. Anybody can be a rebel. Anybody can be a Jedi. So. Yeah, so I feel like the film is so bullheaded in that theme that I can't see her parents suddenly being people of like within the universe or some kind of twist in the next movie. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, so so she's down here in this like infinite mirror thing.
Yeah,
which was like reminding me of Harry Potter.
Yeah. I can see that.
It's just like weird, like when he's looking into the mirror and like all that stuff. Yeah, kind of like an acid trip moment, and thematically, I still don't understand why that was the execution that they took.
I don't know why that was the dark side. I just didn't get it. Giant mirror that's dark.
I mean,
I don't know. It didn't go anywhere for me.
It's like literally the dark side. Like you look into the dark mirror, you're like, that's the dark side.
That is the darkest side there is.
So she ends up coming back out, and she's having these conversations with Kylo Ren, shot in like a very strange way where they actually don't share any scenes together. They're just like a student film, kind of shooting from one location to the other.
Yeah. Them
talking to the camera.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting take. Similarly, like Rian Johnson did a similar effect with the Looper, and with the Looper, in Looper, where when someone pops back into time, there's no fanfare. The guy just pops up, like literally one frame there's nothing, the next frame he's there. So I feel like this was a very Rian Johnson lo-fi thing to do, an interesting choice that he made, and they end up connecting. And Kylo Ren asks her if Lucas told her about what happened, and it turns out they have different stories, slightly different stories.
We're gonna break here for a second, folks. Give me 1 minute. Yeah.
So Kylo Ren thinks that he woke up to Luke looking like he's about to kill him, and Luke tells her Rey that Kylo attacked him. And then it turns out to be, the actual story turns out to be something in between, where Luke sensed that Kylo was already turned to the dark side. Kylo doesn't even know that. Snoke had him in his thrall, and he was about to kill him and then decided against it, but Kylo woke up and attacked him. And you notice we haven't really talked about Snoke. This movie cares as much about Snoke as it did about Admiral Akbar.
Yeah. That pissed me off a lot.
Yeah. So
before we go to Snoke, there's one more surprise.
I wasn't going to go there, but
let's get to that because I feel like we can hit Snoke all in one note because that's essentially what he's treated as in this movie. He's a one-note character.
Yeah.
So Rey pieces out. She leaves to go back and help her friends after she feels like Luke's not going to help her and just leaves, right, with Chewie and the Falcon. And then that's when he decides he's going to burn down the foundation, the original Jedi temple.
Yes.
And then you get one of my favorite cameos in this entire...
This scene was amazing.
It was the best.
It was so good. He pops up, and I literally was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
In the theater.
I did too. I did too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
little Yoda,
Bonesy, my buddy, also started hitting me, like
what the
hitting me. I was like, yow!
Yeah, and it's
Frank
Muppet.
Oz. Yeah,
It's Muppet Yoda.
It looked weird though. There's something
weird.
strange about it.
Oh,
Maybe
dude,
it was
totally.
just okay. I wasn't the only one. Some of my friends thought the same thing too. But like,
no, he totally looks strange. But if you watch Empire,
Yeah.
that's what he looked like. He looked fucking strange.
there was something past that though. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. There was something else. I couldn't put my finger on it. That's why I'm not complaining about it. It's just there was something about it.
I felt the same way.
There's something.
I don't know what it was. It looks
I don't know what it was.
like they used the same mold to build him and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, but something was definitely off.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not the only one then.
But yes, the best scene in the movie, and again, really powering through on that theme of this shit doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
lineage doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Blood doesn't matter. Text and like, old prophecies and all that shit doesn't matter.
Not a page turner. It is.
Yeah.
I thought that
It's got
was
a
such
pretty good
line.
Pretty good line, yeah. The funny, actually, what's funnier than that line is like, read them, have you? And Mark Hamill's like, well, I flipped through them, or we say I leafed through them, or whatever. That the reaction he has,
Yeah.
and again, it's a bit of that personality
Yeah,
coming back out because
absolutely.
Mark Hamill is still. Sorry, Luke is still Luke. Like
Yeah.
he's still learning. Like
Yeah.
he's not. And to the people who have a problem with Luke being sort of this curmudgeon old man who doesn't really want to help, or I say, poppycock. Like the guy is a human being, and he
Yeah.
made a mistake, and he's not perfect. It's like everyone getting really pissed off that like Batman retired for 10 years or whatever, and from the Dark Knight to the Dark Knight Rises. It's like people are people.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be people. People are gonna people.
People are going to people.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, this goes back to my problem with them conveniently choosing what Luke Skywalker you're going to get.
Yeah.
Before Yoda shows up, he's going up there just like, I'm going to just burn this thing down. And then he gets there, and then all of a sudden Yoda comes out, and he's just like, Master Yoda! Like, and to me, there's two things. Like,
That was a pretty good impression.
I
thought
my
that was
impressions
pretty
are on point today.
Yeah, that was pretty good,
he
yeah.
he basically like switches over to kind of the young Luke Skywalker.
But seeing your old teacher
would do that,
sure, to anybody.
but he doesn't ever try and switch back to that like old curmudgeon guy. He's just kind of like,
I guess you don't see him after the scene, right? You don't.
What do you mean,
Not
Yoda?
until Luke Skywalker until the end. Like,
right?
this is
Yes,
his
yeah,
last
that's his
scene.
last scene before you see him come
the
back
end.
with
Yeah.
the just for men's. The Just for Men's hair club. He gets his beard all done.
That's right.
Dude, as soon as he came in later on in the
that's
movie, I
right.
was like, "Damn, homie! Like
He cleans up.
cleaned up, man. He did a little manscaping on that
that's
chinny
so
chin of his.
funny. Yeah, I know you're
Got
right.
himself a haircut.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Got my clippers, I do.
Yeah, I'd love to see the scene before that where Force Ghost Yoda is giving him a haircut.
You look fresh to death now. Oh jeez. Anyways, it was a fun scene. That to me is another example of like, pick the Luke you're gonna get, right? And stick with it. But kind of, it would have been interesting to see him go like Master Yoda and then just be like shake it off and try and be like that angry.
Fuck
like,
you.
Yeah, exactly. Or the other thing would have been like, dude, I've been here by myself for so long. How is this the first time you've come to visit?
That's right.
Like, I've been here 20 years.
Yeah,
I could have used a friend. I've had a hard time.
I've been just drinking this nipple milk. This beast walrus.
juice.
This purple booby juice from this weird alien who seems to like it when I milk it. Did you see that scene where he's just like... The subtitle for that's like, yeah, baby, don't stop.
Don't stop. So he goes from there to where were we going? There was some, and then we were gonna jump over to Snoke. I know there's so much in this damn movie.
It's so much.
So Snoke. Okay, so this is where Rey gets over to Snoke's ship.
Well, hold on. Back to Yoda real quick.
Oh yeah.
And there's one more thing I got to backtrack again. We're going way over time, but
This is gonna be
really long.
We've resigned. Yeah.
Back to when Rey, Chewbacca kicks down the door with the 4-4, and Rey jumps in, and she's like Luke, and he talks to Chewbacca, and then he finds out that Han Solo died. Nothing. Like, there's one beat where he's like, oh, and that's it.
I disagree.
There was nothing.
No. Like, there wasn't much more, but I disagree with you that it was. How much more would you have wanted? That's what I'm going to ask. Because I think that he played it exactly the way Luke Skywalker would have played that, because he looked like somebody just punched him in the gut. I think he played it quite well.
All the time that he spends hiking in this movie, okay,
Sure, yeah.
look, and like milking the walrus, right? The alien beach walrus. Would have saved it for more. Give me a little bit more. Han died. You know what? Force Awakens, when Han dies, it's a big fat nothing. And this movie is also like, hey, yeah, that's a big fat nothing.
That's because nobody wanted to work with Harrison Ford anymore. Get out of here, you grumpy old shit.
They should have got Harrison Ford to play Luke Skywalker in this movie. It would have been perfect. But
That's funny.
But like when like Han's death means nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
At every point in this series, and that's really like it's kind of awful. It sucks. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like I was just like.
I don't.
You can spend 2 minutes setting up this like milking of the alien walrus, and like you've got half a second for a reaction to Han's death, and that's it. So anyway, jumping back to this Yoda scene, wonderfully written. Yoda showing his quirkiness, like again, and Muppet Yoda was way better than CG Yoda.
Yes.
And yeah. No, like the dialogue here was good, and again, pushing the theme of all of this stuff that doesn't matter. Sorry, I didn't really have anything extra to add there. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more. Okay. I thought I did, but I don't.
So Rey ends up being like, all right, I got to go and try and turn Kylo over to the... There's still goodness in him, and I got to go to him. They connect,
so like when they have these conversations, they connect, and Luke walks in on her, and he's like, no, don't. And she's convinced that Kylo still has good in him, even though he keeps saying, kill the past.
Yeah.
And he literally wants to do that.
Yep.
Nothing sort of stops him. Really, she believes that there's still good in him. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
At what point was she warned that there was this fucking like crazy convoluted situation with the thing, the folks outrunning Snoke's ship, the rebels outrunning Snoke's ship, that whole situation?
Rey?
Yeah. When
I
does
don't
she fucking
know.
because like she warps and she's like, oh yeah, well, this is no problem. Let me just fly over there. It's like people just warping in and warping out, like
Probably dead bodies floating in the fucking space, and she's like, oh, I knew that guy.
yeah. But like, the part that upsets me because Finn is like, oh, we need to find her to tell her what's going on here. They actually say that. It's a piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't come back.
Yeah.
She shows up, looks around, looks okay. Chewie, keep going. I'm just gonna drop me off here. It's like the bus.
Yeah.
She gets off at the bus.
My
and
stop. Ding! This is my stop.
she pulls the cord, and she's not surprised at all. So that whole thing about looking for Rey,
Yeah. Again, falls. Who cares?
is like, who cares?
Why are we
Because it
even
doesn't
devoting
matter.
time to this, right?
It doesn't even matter. She shows up, like her understanding this situation or anything bad coming out of it is rendered completely mute.
Yeah.
So another weird inconsistency with the plot, and it's really just layers of convoluted plot that trying to serve the theme. Anyway, so she gets pulled into Snoke's ship. Gets taken to
Snokey?
Snokey the bear.
Snokey the bear?
Yeah, Snokey the bear's office, and like wearing a very luxurious kimono.
He looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. He was
styling.
like he kind of had that Hugh Hefner thing going. Did he have a little bit of a bare sort of caved in chest?
A little bit, yeah.
It's he's a little pasty. He could get some sun, but yeah, he was looking a little like fresh out of the shower, out of the sauna, kind of thing.
He looked really relaxed on that big chair. He's just kind of like...
Maybe he just took some Percocet or something like that. But he was looking pretty relaxed. So she comes in and he reveals that he's the one that's been connecting the two.
Yeah, right.
And Kylo's pretty pissed off about that.
As he should be.
As he should be. So then they have this huge thing. So a couple things happen at the same time. It's very reminiscent of the Return of the Jedi, where they're having this conversation in Snoke's... what was I going to call it? I was going to call it something.
Throne room?
Throne room, yeah. Snoke's throne room, but also they're enacting their plan, and some shit's going down on the rebel side.
Yeah.
Where Poe starts a mutiny.
Yeah.
And he like takes the admiral and the other folks like hostage.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, this is
And
a
I'm
long
like,
movie.
what? Like, yeah, like what a mess. Why did this happen?
Because Laura Dern doesn't know what she's doing.
She has not a fucking clue how to lead anybody. She doesn't tell them what they were doing.
Yeah.
Does she tell them at this point? When does
No,
she tell them?
it's after
He finds out they're going
It's
to
after
abandon
Leia
ship.
wakes up and is like, "What the hell is going on?" And then she just fucking blasts in the door with again force powers.
Is it force powers or I thought
Oh,
they stormtrooper the door.
No. It goes boom, boom, and then the thing just kicks in, and it's her.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't a stormtrooper blasty blast thing.
Yeah.
And then it definitely wasn't a gun or weapon she had, because all she had was the tiny little sun gun, pew pew, and then she's that was pretty much it.
Yeah. So anyway, you find out that all they're doing is refueling these ships, and they're just gonna abandon ship.
Yeah.
And then there's some piece of dialogue that still confuses me. I have no idea what the fuck happened. Are they cloaked or something?
Yeah, they were under cover of something, or the guns won't see them because of blah blah blah. I don't know
So it's
exactly
like,
what it was.
basically they're like, oh, we do have a plan because we're gonna make it. It's not just the same situation over again with smaller ships.
No.
It's not. Apparently, that's not the case.
No, apparently not.
Okay, fine.
Because they can't see them, and then they're going to go to a planet that's really
That's
close by,
like reinforced
that has,
or whatever.
a reinforced rebel base. But then DJ, for some reason, knows exactly what they're going to do and gives them the heads up, and then they just start picking them off.
So he does know, and you know how he knows.
How?
He's when they're
code
flying,
breaker of the master variety.
No. When they're on the ship,
Yeah.
going back to they stole the ship on the casino planet. Finn is talking to Poe. And he overhears that they're planning to refuel the ship and abandon ship.
You just read that.
No. I recall.
you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
My
but
head.
again, it's these things with like pieces of dialogue that they're not doing a good. It's so dense that they're like this shit is just flying over people's heads, right?
Yeah.
So they get back there. So I have a couple of questions about this whole fucking situation. We're gonna jump back to Snoke's spa room in a moment, but like for now, let's talk about this. They go when they try to deactivate the tracker thing. They fail. They get caught. No big deal there. So they abandon ship. These ships are flying out in front of the bigger ship, which is being chased by the really big ship, the Dreadnought, right? Or not the Dreadnought.
Not the Dreadnought. I call it
Snoke's
Volkswagen.
mobile.
Snokeswagon.
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 So Snokeswagon is chasing these ships. It's not detecting that these ships have left. I thought there was a line about, Snoke's ship's not going to care about a couple of transports leaving the ship. I'm like,
Why
what
not?
the hell?
No.
Why the hell not? Okay, so hey, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry.
So like, why wouldn't they care? Okay, maybe if they said, we don't have the artillery to take on a bunch of smaller targets. We need to take on a bigger target because we need to conserve ammo or something fucking retarded like that, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to say the word. Anyway, we'll keep moving. Sorry.
It's fine.
Something ridiculous like that,
There you
right?
go.
But no, because as soon as they discover that these transports have people, or they discover the transports, or whatever it is, they immediately start firing on them.
Yeah.
So if I'm here in my giant Snoke's wagon, and I'm like, hey, there's a couple of ships leaving that giant transport. It's like, some guy comes up to me, he's like, hey, you know what? We need to conserve ammo. We need to shoot them. We shouldn't shoot them. Just focus fire on the big one. And then I asked some other guy, hey, how are our ammo reserves? This guy, we got ammo for days. I'm like, okay, just fucking shoot them then. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. Why the hell didn't they just shoot them? Second thing is, okay, I thought I heard someone saying something about them being cloaked or undetectable in some way.
Yeah, they were. I remember that being like that they were not going to see them because they wouldn't know that
Was
they were
it
there.
because the transport's in the way?
No.
Like there's like that kind of.
Maybe they were outside of a detection range or something, so they were just taking
then
pot shots.
Yeah, but then they were able to shoot them.
I'm trying to look it up
immediately.
here while you're speaking, so that's why I'm on.
And then as soon as they found out that about the ships, they were able to shoot them immediately. So I what plot contrivance are we going to introduce here to explain that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm harping on this, but it just at some point for me when I'm watching this movie, at some point this logic is going to break down enough where I'm not invested anymore.
I'm reading stuff. It's saying cloaked. Like
Cloaked.
I thought
There's a piece of
cloaked.
dialogue,
Yeah.
and I swear to you, it is a ADR piece of dialogue when the camera's panning over the ships. They're like, oh yeah, so we're cloaked. Blah blah blah. It's just like, it's just like something that someone just says nonchalantly. Again, what I consider to be wrapping the plot around the theme rather than the other way around, or not that they should be wrapped. Either of them should be wrapped around each other. I feel like they should have a balance, right? But they're saying, where they're basically saying that they're cloaked or whatever, and somehow Benizio's character fixes that for them when he had no connection to their cloak. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, is it just a matter of coming up and saying, hey, they're cloaked ships trying to leave? It's like, oh, somebody turn on the cloaking scanner.
Like I said,
why did you just have that thing on all the whole time?
Yeah.
Just like, if somebody tried to escape. Anyway, I'm probably harping on this a little too much. Point is, that kind of pissed me off. It was so cheap. It just felt cheap. It just felt rushed.
Yeah.
And then, Laura Dern has this great moment, where she turns the ship around. I'm like, that was the first thing in my mind when I was watching the movie. I'm like, oh, if you're such an amazing, like, decorated admiral, right? That would be the first thing I would have done.
Yeah.
As a decorated admiral, I would light speed through all of those ships. Yeah, of course. You got one person driving this giant transport. What do they do? We need one person to pilot the ship, they say. Okay. I feel like the thing is just going straight, so you can just, like, put the club on the wheel and, like, leave, right? But turning around and, like, shooting through hyperspace, like, that should have been the first thing. Like, it is, again, it's just really just demeaning or destroying her whole credibility as an admiral. Like, in my mind, I was just kind of like, the leadership skills are poor. Like, but it's the plot. They were I don't know how to explain it. I'm tired.
We're not military. Who are we to judge your strategy?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. I could just be wrong about this whole thing. And there's some like admiral out there that's going to write me a letter, very, very mean-spirited letter, being like,
it's not going to be Akbar.
It's certainly not going to be
Akbar. It was a trap. So, back on the Snokeswagon.
The Snokeswagon spa, where he just got out of his he got out of his hot steam.
Yeah, so he's been torturing Rey, seemingly trying to get information from her. Luke's location, yeah, where he's at basically, and it's not even. It's definitely torture, but I think that like she's not giving it up under torture. I think he's just pulling it from her brain.
Yeah.
And Snoke is such a badass. This guy is strong. He single-handedly brought the First Order into power, seemingly. He's probably the guy that's got the bankroll for this everything, and he's
bankroll.
Big. Well, I mean, who's paying for the dreadnoughts?
That's a great question,
right? So, anyways, he's this really big, powerful, imposing villain, and he's grooming Kylo Ren, who's unsure, but just a huge well of power. And then he's gone.
Yeah. Well, not only that, he's
taken out in the most, like, how didn't he see that coming way? And what I mean is, like, not, okay.
Well, the other thing is, like, he's patronizing the shit out of Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
So I like this relationship where, they got that back and forth where he's not a father figure.
No.
At any stretch of the imagination. There's no, like...
Well, he's a mentor.
But there's no... But that's it.
It's
to the point where...
But that was like the Emperor and...
But,
Vader.
Kylo's turn in this movie was pretty good.
A literal one. It's the lightsaber turn.
Kylo's turn in this movie was I think well documented is the word I would use. I guess it was. He was happy to kill like a Han, but then he couldn't kill his mother. Yeah, it was weird inconsistency. But we men all love our mother. Yeah, for moms. Dads though, protect your neck. Watch out.
One thing. So shit. So the thing is like. The one thing that bugged me was like, yeah, I get that like Snoke was so focused on the Force that like maybe he didn't see that part coming in the future or whatever because it seems like he's almost precog to some degree.
Yeah.
But like your phone vibrating on this table, which I can feel, that lightsaber wasn't really one fluid quick motion. It was like... And he's just there. He's just like, yes, I can see the lightsaber turning. And he can't feel the thing that's literally like a few inches from his hand.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, dude, come on. Like, if it late raised and slowly started, that would make me much more sense. But that just, like, it's suspicion of disbelief. Or is it suspicion of, what is it?
Suspension?
Suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. Yeah.
It was not suspended.
You were not suspended.
No, I was just like, there's no way he wouldn't have felt
full
that.
classes today, no
It was
suspension.
annoying. They could have handled that differently. And that's definitely a nitpick. But what is not a nitpick is you've built up this really interesting character that I definitely wanted to know kind of how that happened, or at least get a feel for what his motivations are or whatever, and then they just do away with him. Now, if they're going to go somewhere where all of a sudden that's the turning point for Kylo, there's no stepping back from that. Like, he's like, you get like, oh my God, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Problem is, he's not the guy. He's still got this annoying, unsure personality. Like, how is that guy going to be the leader? You got punchable face, dude, constable, whatever. Constable Hux. I don't know.
Why did you say
General?
Constable?
I don't know why I say Constable Hux. That was a mistake.
Constable Hux.
So General Hux,
just solving petty crime on the Snoke's wagon. That's like a separate show on itself, like petty crime.
It's
on
like
the
a
Snoke's
really
wagon.
like bad Law and Order spin-off. So like it just like if he was the guy, that's cool, but then he's not. He
doesn't become him yet. I
get that, but that should have been the turning point, because without, like, for me now, I don't see who would be buying into these guys. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel motivated as a stormtrooper. Like, this is my guy. Oh shit, he's beating the hell out of his helmet by himself in an elevator. Like, that's not the guy you want leading the cause. Snoke had a vision, it seemed, and he had a place to go, and he was super powerful with the Force.
Yeah.
Like, he made those other guys look like chicken shits, really.
Yeah.
Kylo just got a good licking and a cheap shot, and that's how he ended up becoming the champion of it all, which is synonymous with how the dark side works. Like, that's kind of, the apprentice is always kind of looking to one-up the master and become the master himself, right? That's cool. That's all well and good. But the biggest issue with it is that it doesn't, like, that should have been the turning point. It's like, shit, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that at all. He's still the whiny little shit of a character that he is. And I don't like that. That's my biggest problem with the Kylo Ren character, and that's my biggest problem with the way that this movie handled the concept and character of Snoke.
Yeah.
So that's my rant. That's my, like, in a nutshell, that's probably one of the biggest gripes I have about this film is I like the one villain that they had I thought was a good villain and mysterious and everything. They completely did away with pretty unceremoniously. And they didn't do enough with his death in terms of developing the Kylo Ren character.
Yeah. So I think I agree on one point. Snoke, when I left the theater, I was like, who the hell is Snoke? This movie doesn't care. Mm-hmm. This movie cares not. And the flashback back to when Kylo turns on Luke, he's like, Kylo was already in Snoke's power or under his influence. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, where did he come from? Yeah. Like, how by the end of the Return of the Jedi was a Sith so powerful, like, such a powerful Sith to be, allowed to grow? And I mean, the First Order is one thing, but like, a Sith like that, you think Jedi would know who they are. And it's obvious that he does. It's just that the movie doesn't go into it. Now, you could make the argument that the Emperor in the original trilogy didn't have history either.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally see that. That's something I was going to bring up.
I feel like the Emperor, like if I were to watch with the Emperor, you just accept it as being in all power, like Darth Vader's teacher, right?
Yeah.
I can't explain it right now, but somehow that just made more sense, and they gave you enough there to work off of
for the Emperor.
Yes,
this
more
one
than Snoke.
Yes, yeah. The Emperor, and I think it's also that I think it was a better performance by, I can't remember the
Ian McDermott.
Ian McDermott, yeah. I think it was just his performance helps augment it, and you get more time with the Emperor. Half the movie of the Return of the Jedi, I think, is with the Emperor in Emperor's throne room. Maybe not half the movie like screen time wise, but half the movie, Luke Skywalker's up in that throne room with him, and they're going over this big thing of him either turning to the dark side or not. This scene wasn't that. It was maybe 20, 30 minutes in there that he was torturing her. So it was just very... There was not enough time for Snoke to get enough... I mean, he had credibility, but he was just so unceremoniously done away with, and it didn't go anywhere. It's still, to me, I haven't seen where it's gone.
I think the argument I would make in this case is that the Emperor in the original trilogy, they didn't have a legacy.
No, I know.
Like the original trilogy didn't have a legacy.
Right.
It didn't have, like it had the first 2 movies, but it didn't have worlds and many other movies to draw from, or another trilogy to draw from. The issue is when you're going to introduce a character like that into a movie that has 6 previous films where everything has been explained fairly well, concisely, introducing a character that powerful, an audience actually knows the history. They know the original trilogy. The first question they're going to ask is, where did this guy come from? That is the first question you're going to ask, and that is the downside of having a franchise like that. Continuity. People are going to ask those questions, and they care. They care because the universe means so much to them. The stories do. So when you don't have that kind of like even a tertiary explanation, even when they're just like, oh, the ships are cloaked, by the way. Like you could have just said anything about Snoke being like, oh, he was one of the Empire that escaped and was secretly trained by whatever, or what, I don't even know if you need that. The point is, people are going to ask that question, and not answering it is going to piss some people off because you have an entire legacy to deal with. This isn't a one-off movie, right? So personally, I came out of the movie being like, who the hell is Snoke?
Yeah.
This movie doesn't care. I kind of cared, but I let it go. I did like what the thing I'll disagree with you on is I like the way he died. I liked that scene because Snoke, being as powerful as he is, he's arrogant. Snoke is an arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
And he's so focused on what he thinks is going to happen that somebody throwing him for such a loop and masking his own thoughts, right, is not something that ever occurred to him. Like someone double-crossing him is not something that he ever thought could happen. And it's a play on how arrogant he is. And I liked the symbolism of like, the whole, who's your real enemy kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
So I did like it. I do agree that it was kind of unceremonious. I did like the fact that they showed him cut in half. I thought that was pretty graphic.
But this goes back to my unnecessary gags thing.
With his mouth, like something
No.
later?
So he gets him, right? And then they take it seriously, the battle and all that. Then General Hux goes into the room, and then he's still there. And then all of a sudden it's just boom, and then his top part just falls off.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something.
I thought that was great.
I was just like, why?
I don't know.
Why do
I
you
like
need
that.
It? Like, it's just another let's put in a gag.
Like it didn't seem like a gag. It just seemed like grotesque, and I was like, oh,
it was totally done for an audience reaction of the humorous variety. For sure,
yeah.
It was a gag.
Yeah.
So when I was saying in terms of Snoke, the way that he died, how he died, I totally agree. I think it was a good way to do it. In fact, I would have probably filmed it differently. I wouldn't have done the little. I would have had it be like, all of a sudden you just hear the lightsaber and then a slash.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just see that the lightsaber stopped at Rey, but then you pan past or use focus past her, and then you just see the lightsaber next to him and done it. That would have been a way better way to do it. Except the whole time it's doing this, and I'm like, dude, it's right there. Like, you can feel it.
Rattling.
Yeah, so the way that they did it, I thought was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But, and I agree with you, too, because I came out of that, like, I wanted to know who Snoke was, and then I realized, I'm like, shit, they didn't really do anything with the Emperor. You really don't need to know.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. I completely agree. It's that his death didn't go anywhere. Like, didn't help develop Kylo Ren yet.
This is the part. Yeah, so that's the part I kind of disagree with you.
Okay,
So the part I disagree with you on is they're going to. I know they're going to pay this off later. They need room for like Kylo to grow, and so he does. He takes control, but this power struggle between him and Hux is supposed to be a plot point. It's supposed to be something that you care about. Frankly, I don't really give a shit. They're both kind of like whiny little assholes. But he takes control, and he still because he still has this piece of past left, right? So I feel like his whole thing, kill the past. Until his past is dead, he's going to be this whiny little bastard, right? And he manages to do it more or less. But I bet in the next film he's going to be a much different character.
That's fine, and I'm looking forward to that. And if they do something with it,
Yeah.
I'm happy to see where them making him the guy.
Yeah.
The problem is this film took what the last film did and said, "Fuck you, we don't care." So who knows what's going to happen? Because now you've got J.J. Abrams. I think he's directing the next one. I don't know if he's writing it. Because Ryan Johnson wrote and directed this one.
Right.
So that's the thing I'm worried about is like now you've got another dude coming in to do this, and maybe he had a vision for where the first one was going to go, and now the second one kind of did some weird shit. I'm sure he had creative control on this to some degree too.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine. J.J. Abrams. He produced it.
He executive produced it, but he was pretty hands off. This is a Ryan Johnson joint. Okay, like this movie feels like a Ryan Johnson film.
I don't know enough of his work aside from Looper, and
definitely
I like
check
Looper.
Out Looper's amazing. Looper. You should check out Brick. Brick is very good with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Amazing movie. And he did another one, the Brothers Bloom. Also a very very good movie.
Okay,
he's got hit after hit, in my opinion. True.
So anyways, so
they don't do anything with this kid. Doesn't forward his character. He's still a whiny little angry little person.
Not yet.
Yeah, so it's not yet. I was more of like I can see that he's still annoying, but he still has past to kill. Yeah. So I feel like in the next movie he'll be a little more stoic. He'll be grown up.
Yeah,
more or less. I still think he looks stupid. I think he's woefully miscast. I think
Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver just looks awful. Yeah. I remember he had the mask on, and he takes the mask off in Force Awakens.
People
literally laughed.
I laughed too. Yeah,
I'm like Jesus. Yeah. Anyway, that being what it is, you kind of get used to him because he doesn't wear the mask in this movie.
No,
he smashes it to bits. Another sort of thematic destruction of the past. But also this is a different movie about different characters. We're moving on. This movie is moving on. Yeah. You guys need to like get with it or get left behind and be sort of angry about it, right? And it's sort of like hedging its bets, saying that we got to move on, right? Yeah. So moving on, regardless of how you felt about Snoke's death, the scene that follows this is an incredible action scene.
It's the best action scene.
So good. Really enjoyed it. Shot way differently than other action scenes where it was great.
You know what?
It was wonderful.
It was one of these scenes where you got people that complain about the old trilogy saying all the lightsaber scenes were bad or were boring and whatever. And then you got the ones that the school of thought about the new ones and being like, oh, they're too much of a dance. There's no emotional ties to any of them. And I see both arguments and they both are pretty sound. This lightsaber battle, well, it's not lightsabers, but you know what I mean. Had the best of both worlds.
Oh, for sure. That's a good way of putting it.
The way that they were so codependent on each other to get through that situation. Yeah. The choreography of the fights was quite good, I thought. Yes. Kylo's dummying way more people than Rey was, which makes sense because he's definitely way more trained than she is.
Yep. The enemies, the Crimson Guard. I just love the way they use their weapons, the energy weapons, and the one guy, he's using it like a knight, like a I don't know, like a traditional knight. I don't really know too much about knights and how they use their weaponry, but I've seen a couple of documentaries, and the one thing that they do is they hold their arm out and they put their sword over their the gauntlet on the front like this, and then he does that, and it's like there's tact, there's groundedness in the fight. Mm-hmm. It's not a dance, but there's a little bit of whimsy to it because the Jedi are who they are. But these guys are all very mechanical and gritty, and they're because they're not Jedi, right? But I love the scene where the guy puts it on his thing and he puts his energy weapon on his gauntlet, and he kind of they're trying to surround them. Yeah. It was really wonderful. And my favorite shot in that fight is where he I think she kicks a guy into some sort of all thing. Am I missing something?
I can't remember. Keep going.
It's I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. He kicks into the grinding thing, and all of this red stuff pops up, but it's his clothing. Yeah. But it looks like it was intentionally meant to look like he just grinded into mincemeat.
Yeah, it was graphic. I can't remember what she dropped him into, but I remember going "Ooh, God."
Yeah.
It was something.
He just explodes into red, and it's actually his clothes, but really Again, I feel like Ryan Johnson snuck a lot of violent, bloody imagery into this film without actually having blood. That's one scene with the Crimson Guard. The other one, the big scene at the end with the red underneath the sand, was very symbolic of violence and the death of the rebels.
Yeah.
Right. And it was almost like I felt that it was tangible to me, like that symbolism of the red sprouting up and like violently, especially when like they go ham on Luke. There, the red clay is like popping up out of the ground. It looks like blood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is very like it's like the rebels are bleeding essentially, and they're slowly dying, and it's a great artistic way to show that without getting an R rating. So
good call.
Kudos Rian Johnson for doing that. So anyway, they have this great sword battle.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't have much. After the sword battle, which again we're gushing over.
Amazing.
Then you've got the whole battle for Luke's lightsaber because she doesn't really accept his invitation.
Yes.
Wants to get out.
Yeah, that's
wants
right.
the lights. She wants the lightsaber. He
Yes.
wants it, and then it breaks in half. Did each one of them get a half, or do they? I think she
remember.
gets both of them. I think she gets both of them boogies.
Because she wakes up.
Yes. Yeah.
She wakes up she wakes up. She doesn't kill him or anything like that, but
She wakes up first and then takes a thing.
Takes the lightsaber.
Takes the lightsaber. It's like when Green Lantern and Hector Hammond woke up in Green Lantern and they just went to their respective domiciles after.
That's right.
Neither of them looked at the other person that was sleeping next to them and was like, I should do something about this now while they're asleep next to me.
That's right.
Anywho, sorry.
They break in a weird way. And then Phasma comes back.
And that's all we need to discuss about that character.
Oh man, it's really disappointing because I liked Phasma a lot. I like the idea of Phasma's character, and again, they like along with Snoke, they just kind of
over the shoulder, toss the lightsaber over the shoulder,
throw her away. Unfortunately,
yeah.
I did like the character, and I was hoping they were going places with it, but she just kind of pops up and pops out.
Yep. And Finn just dummies her with an electric baseball bat a couple times, and she falls into oblivion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I agree. I was compelled to see kind of where that character is going because, like, I mean, a female stormtrooper is not something you've seen in the past, right? And not like in any shape or form. And then you've got this one that's supposed to be super badass.
Yeah. Like the commando style, like those different orders of stormtroopers I was hoping to see more of. Like they did a lot in the video games, like Republic Commando did that and stuff like that. But, it was like the personality was coming back to the stormtroopers with Phasma, and unfortunately they do away with that. So I was kind of bummed out about that. But, it didn't ruin it, but it was just kind of like, it's like not only are they moving on from the characters of the original trilogy, like saying, hey, like ride or die, like this movie is about these new characters. They're also chopping out stuff that I actually liked from The Force Awakens. So I can see how it sort of feels that if you liked it more than I did, you kind of feel alienated by the film.
Exactly.
So what happens after that?
Well, after that, basically everybody goes.
Planet.
Yeah, they get back to Salt Hoth.
Yeah,
and
sorry. The one other thing I want to mention, I'm talking about how different this movie is and how challenging it is, but it's also almost exactly the same thing as you've seen in the past. There's so many callbacks to like the films. The look is the same. Hoth, it's just salt on the top. The walkers, these are like ape walkers.
Yeah, the knuckle dragging walkers.
I thought there was going to get up on his hind legs and like beat its chest like King Kong.
I would have been down with that.
But yeah, no, like the movie is so different and so much of the same, like all wrapped into one.
Yeah,
and like there's no better way to say that or show that than this scene on this salt planet where they get attacked by walkers. It's walker assault.
Yeah, pretty much. They get in. They see that there's this energy battering ram that's able to take out their big, crazy, only single door to this very heavily fortified base. And they get in these like salt speeders, I'll call them.
Yeah.
And it was cool, but they were way outmatched. Like they couldn't do anything.
It was super cool.
Oh yeah, it was neat.
And they do nothing.
Yeah.
Like not only are they outmatched, like they literally do nothing. They ride the speeders out and they turn around and go back.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we're not cut out for this.
That was it. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah, you have low tech, like, but there's supposed to be like maybe a moment here that, like the snow's. I mean, that's why this movie is about failure. It is literally about the rebels failing at everything they try to do. Everything,
yeah.
And they go out in these salt speeders. I'm like, oh, look, it looks so visually like arresting. You know, the speeders digging up the red sand, the streaks going. I thought they were going to use the streaks of dust that they were creating to like create a smoke screen, so they couldn't see where they were shooting and attack them in the smoke screen, like that kind of thing. I'm like, that would have been amazing, but no, they literally ride out, and then Poe's like, you know what? We're outmatched. We're just going to turn around and go back.
Yeah.
After all this fanfare about them coming out.
All this bullshit.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, this is really bumming me out.
And here's the other biggest problem I have is then you have Finn being like, screw you, I got this. And it's a redeeming quality for the moment, or for the character, because he's kind of a bitch. In the first one, he bitches out. In the second one, he's about to bitch out.
Which is good. It adds layers to his character.
It's a fallible character trait, and that's cool. I'm okay with that. But he finds it in his heart to say, you know what? This needs to be done. We need to take this out, and he's gonna sack. And I honestly, I thought it was going to happen. I audibly, when this happened, I groaned when Rose stopped him. I was like, "You, baby!" In my head, I went, "You son of a bitch!" Like you set up like the perfect character building and like perfect note to end Finn on.
Yeah.
And then you take it away. You don't have the balls to go through with that kind of thing because there's no way Disney's going to take away that character of Finn. Well, it just chafed my ass so much. I was so mad about it.
And the reason she does it is like it's like the weirdest. It was a weird thing that I still don't really agree with.
I don't remember. I was so taken out of it. Every time I saw Finn and her after that, I was like, fuck you.
And she has a really awful scene where she's like, for love. And I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? Was that like the first take that they had of that scene?
It was awful. Poorly acted, for sure.
But one of the things that jumped out at me in that scene was Finn and Rey actually have some kind of relationship.
Yes.
I totally forgot. You know when I remembered in this movie is at the end of the film. I'm like, oh, they had a whole other movie together. And they actually have a relationship. And then like so Rey's looking at him taking care of Rose. And there's like this weird, I think they're going to do this weird love triangle thing. I forgot. I literally forgot the entire movie that they had some kind of relationship. So that's why when Rose saves Finn, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. He should have just died. But I forgot there is a relationship between him and Rey, and they haven't even had a scene together yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I had remembered that, I would have been able to say, oh, like, he's obviously not going to die here, right? But, like, I just didn't remember. It was just so weird because they spent the whole movie apart.
Han didn't have another scene with Luke. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's necessarily going to dictate whether or not that.
Well, they spent time setting that up in the first movie. Like, I feel like that relationship was going to
over the shoulder. Doesn't matter what was set up in the first movie.
It is a little vicious for something, but that relationship was central to the first movie. Like, it wasn't just like a world building thing. That the whole movie was built around that relationship.
It was, yeah.
And this movie spends no time on it, which is okay. Just that I forgot as a viewer, I totally forgot that they had any kind of relationship
because they were focusing on all kinds of other.
I don't even remember what happened at the end of Force Awakens. That Finn ends up in like a bubble suit filled with weird water gelatinous medical things.
He gets his ass kicked by Kylo Ren. Like, but then pretty serious injuries. And
does someone pick him up and save him? Or I think
Chewie. I think Chewie's because Chewie's pretty close to wherever they are. So I would assume Chewie. Okay. I don't think Rey's picking her.
Yeah, because I had no idea because he wakes up in that thing and I'm like, what happened?
That being said, Daisy Ridley's jacked, eh?
Oh, she's
I can't remember if it was on Instagram or something like that, but she's like an avid like weightlifter, fitness person. Like, she's jacked.
Yeah, she's gorgeous too.
She's very pretty,
and she does a really great job in this. So anyway, Salt Speeders go out there, do nothing, and it really kind of like upset me. And it's supposed to be a growth moment for Poe as well. I think that's the idea that he's calling it off, is that he recognizes that, you know, there's so few numbers, every person means so much. But I'm like, man, you really gave up a cool setup. Yeah. You gave up a really cool setup, and there was all this fanfare about, you know, the speeders coming out, the visual white and red aspects of it, and there was no delivery there. I was kind of pissed off.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I agree.
So they run back to their den. There's no other way out. These guys are battering the door, and Luke shows up.
Yeah.
Comes down the stairs, heads, you know, cleaned up a little bit. Yoda helped him groom himself, and he goes to Leia first and has this really great. I thought this was a really great moment. Finally, like, maybe giving Han's death a little bit more. He's like literally he's got like dice or something. Like what are those like?
I think
they set that up as like something that's hanging on the front of the Millennium
on
Falcon,
the
that
Falcon,
he took, and
probably something like a childhood toy of Kylo's or something like that.
And giving it to her and having this great moment where it's like I can't save him. So I got to stop him, whatever. And it's a touching moment. I actually quite liked it. It was good. But just him kind of like randomly showing up was super cheesy. But then you find out why that is. They were able to do that because it's not him. It's like an astral projection of him. So him just kind of showing up makes more sense. Rather than like, if it was actually him, like where did he come from? How does he even know?
I want to give kudos to the filmmakers on this point. Just having that one quick establishing shot of the X-wing that's in the water over on
he gives you the
because I actually like at first, aside from like when he came in and he was young, I was like, that's kind of weird. I guess he just, like I said, the hair color, like I was like, why did he color his beard? That's weird. I could see him doing a haircut, but I was like, well, I guess he jumped in that X-wing. That's a possibility. It wasn't until he popped the lightsaber that I was like, wait a minute, that's weird. Because he should have the green one, because the blue one he doesn't have anymore. Unless he built a new one or something.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that's why, at that point, that's when I thought, something's up. Something's up.
So he walks out like a total badass.
That was...
like in the middle of the field. Yeah. And Kylo... just kill him. He starts crying and just tells him. Hux does have a funny line at the end when they completely bombard him. Like they burn a hole in this planet, like, where he's standing, and they just like blast him to smithereens. And Hux is like, "Do you think you got him?"
Yeah. And that was okay.
I'm like, that was a good line.
So here we go with the comedy bits. That totally great. Like it was a good, like
perfect
because it was perfect. It suited the scene. Like there was just kind of like
because he was just kind of like, you're ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And at this point, as an audience member, you know that the dust isn't going to clear, and you're going to see a dead Luke Skywalker. Like you know that it's going to be okay. So a little bit of levity of that situation, because you kind of know where it's going, I thought was very appropriate. Right. But then Luke comes out of it and he goes, dusts his shoulder off. I was like, fuck you. Like I don't need that. You don't need to put in another funny moment.
I'll agree with you on that one. That wasn't needed. That wasn't particularly needed. I was just when that happened, I was just like I heard the Jay-Z song in my head.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like a pimp Jedi, gone, dust your shoulders off. Like it was just like, it seemed like a very like rap video thing to do.
I could actually hear everybody's eyes rolling in the theater.
What did it sound like?
I don't know. Like dice.
Like dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody has
it just like it
eyes.
seemed like a very like late '90s hip hop thing to do, like dust his shoulder. I'm like,
tacky. It was tacky.
So anyway, what happens after that? Kylo gets out of the ship, or the ape walker, and comes down and faces off. In the meantime, Poe is like, oh, he's giving us time to escape. And they do have these crystal ice dog things, which I thought were actually pretty cool. I liked that design of those, and they try to follow them.
Good design, just a new toy.
Yeah.
But at least they served
a purpose. They served a purpose in the plot.
That I didn't mind.
And they...
and then
where was Chewie?
Chewie was in the Falcon trying to draw people away. Well, yeah, he was in the Falcon.
The TIE fighters are attacking.
Yeah, they were attacking, and then
he draws them off.
They really don't like this shit.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much else of what they did. But then at that point, they follow the crystal. What do they call them? Crystal foxes or
crystal foxes. Yeah.
And, to the rock formation. Which the thing that bugged me about that was, they get to the front of this rock formation and they're like, oh no, there's rocks in our way. Whatever are we going to do? Why did nobody just be like, Leia!
Yeah, Leia.
You know how you were blasting those doors? Just come over here. Like that would have been the logical reaction for these like seasoned veteran fighters.
Yeah.
Like people that know how to get themselves use their resources to get out of sticky situations. Instead everybody's like, oh, we're screwed. Rocks! And then all of a sudden Rey comes and saves them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was kind of synonymous or it was a callback to the earlier line in the film. Like, isn't it just,
lifting
rocks and stuff? Well, yeah, she is lifting rocks and that saves everybody. So sure, that's all well and good. It's just, to me, the first thing I thought of was like rocks. I'm like, just tell Leia to get from the front or from the back to the front.
Yeah.
Like, just move them.
Yeah. Yeah, so then this duel is happening in the meantime, and it's pretty nifty. Like, Kylo tries to attack Luke, and they actually never connect. And then I guess he remembers or whatever that, or not remembers. He finds that he senses they've escaped.
Yeah,
I think, and he's like, okay, now's the time now's the time to make my mark, and he lets Kylo like slice him in half, and that's when Kylo realizes he's not actually there.
Yeah,
and
Ben Kenobi moment.
I sort of had mixed feelings at that moment. I was like, what? And it's like, Luke sitting on this rock on his island and projecting himself, and he says, "I'll see you around, kid," and disappears. And Kylo just like, I don't know, what is he like? He freaks out. But how did you feel about him not actually being there?
I have mixed feelings as well. Like I said, big hero for me as a child, right? And to see him...
Well, actually, like, sorry, not to add to that, he disappears.
He disappears, yeah.
Yeah, so just
the whole thing, yes.
Ending thing.
So being able to see him kind of square off and get in that close quarter situation with Kylo, kind of bringing that whole relationship full circle, was really, really cool. I was super excited to see him back in the saddle and doing stuff again, right? Instead of just being the curmudgeon. But then when they revealed that he was gone, I was actually really disappointed, because I was like, I'm never going to see that character be able to engage in the kind of dramatic action that I really, really wanted to see. There was this, and I always call back to this, there was this really badass comic book panel in Dark Empire, where he basically just comes out of the darkness and just drops an AT-AT. Like it's nothing. It's a really, really cool set of panels. And I was sad that I'm never going to see that again. But the thing is he's not gone. He's going to be in the next movie as Force Luke, right? I'm sure you're going to see Luke Skywalker again as a Force ghost. So at least there's still going to be that. I was just sad that you're not going to get Luke Skywalker be able to engage in the war anymore, because I would have liked to see more of that.
Yeah.
But does this make sense in the context of the film and the character? Absolutely, it does.
Personally, I would have liked that whole setup, except I wanted him to be there physically, and when he gets attacked, I wanted him to pull the Ben Kenobi clothes. Just nothing in there. Like when Vader cuts Ben Kenobi in the first film.
So when they were about to do that, because I wasn't sure whether he was projecting,
I thought he was just going to disappear.
I thought he was too. I thought that was going to be... But the thing is I didn't like that. And here's... to me, I was like, I don't need more of the same shit. Give me something different.
Oh, I see.
And this, it was what? That is a pretty interesting way to do it. Like, it's the same outcome, but they did it in a very different way. And it kind of displays a different it's a very different journey for Luke. I liked it in that sense.
That's a good point. I've always been pounding the drum that I want something different. I want something challenging, and what I just asked for was essentially the same thing from New Hope. But no, that's a good point. I guess the reason I suggested, I feel cheated because he wasn't physically there. There's something about being physically there that actually brings closure.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's kind of I'm like, oh, that's just, I don't know. It just didn't seem, it didn't seem as tangible. Well, literally it's not tangible, right? But I mean, it just didn't seem as, it didn't get the closure I thought I would get if he was physically present. You know? I feel a little cheated, although it didn't really piss me off that much. Yeah. It didn't make me angry. It was just more of like I would have wanted him to physically be there. There was something about that tangibility that would add something to that scene. But then you have this great shot of him looking at the sun.
Two suns, yeah.
I actually thought I saw something in the sun. I thought there was a ship coming. I thought they had found out where he was and they were going to bomb the island.
There was something there, wasn't
was it? I thought I saw it too, because I was sitting there. I'm like, oh, the TIE fighters or TIE bombers are coming, and they're gonna blow this island up, and he's gonna, he'll just die on the island. And I was so focused on it, I completely sort of missed the context of the two suns thing until the scene was fading out. I'm like, oh, what the hell was I like? Oh, I thought I saw something coming in through the clouds.
I thought I did too, but
no, it was a nice thing. He disappears, and at first I was kind of like, and I was like, oh, I guess that sort of makes sense. Yeah.
It was something that I needed to think about after the film as to how I felt. A lot of the stuff. So okay, at this point, I guess we're kind of done talking about the plot. I mean, basically, after this, they get away. The rebels that get away. Luke goes away. The First Order goes to make more money. And then you get kind of the scene where everybody kind of reunites. Leia's talking to Rey. They're going over. They're looking at Luke's lightsaber. Rey also meets Poe for the first time in this whole series. They'd never met before, which I didn't know or didn't realize until later.
That's right.
She
sees Finn.
She sees Finn
for the first time in the movie and sees him taking care of Rose and kind of like set that whole triangle thing up. And when Finn's going into the drawer, did you notice the Jedi books are there?
Yes. Yeah, they took them.
They are there.
She took them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And I don't know what I can't remember the last shot of the film, but
it was them all together.
And somebody talking, or was it just like a zoom out of?
I don't know. Somebody probably said hope, and then they just fucking cut.
Hope. Oh no, sorry. The last shot of the film is the kid. The kid.
That's right. Yeah.
So at the end, this orphan kid from that planet, the casino planet, is like getting
force mopping.
Yeah,
force
getting
sweeping.
chastised by a slaver, and then grabs the mop using the force in a very throwaway shot, which I thought was beautifully. It was really well done because I wasn't sure if I saw it at first.
Everybody was. Me and my buddies were all talking about it after. We're like,
"Did you?
He did this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the whole theme of the movie is sort of cemented at the end. Saying, we can build again. Anybody can start. Have the spark to start the fire that will ignite the rebellion, that whole sort of thing. So it is a kind of a poetic ending.
Yeah. Agreed. I came out of the film like, that was horrible.
I was confused.
I literally, to myself, I was like, it was horrible. There was some things that were okay and da. And then in the days after it followed, because I mean, I knew that I didn't like it, like gut reaction.
Yeah.
But there was stuff in there that I thought was intriguing, and it took me time to kind of think about it, to really develop more of, I don't want to say an informed opinion, and it's just my opinion. It's not any more informed than anybody else's. It's just more kind of go over what I liked, what I didn't like, and kind of rediscover some things that actually were better than I gave it credit for. Right. So did I overall like the film? No, but not by much. Right. I think that the film, I wouldn't watch the whole film again. I definitely watch everything that happened on the Octoon or whatever.
Bless you.
Octo. That's when I read the name of the planet, I was like, it sounds like a sneeze. So yeah, everything that happened with Luke and Rey, I definitely rewatched some of the space battles, that lightsaber battle in Snoke's.
Oh, dude, that lightsaber battle is amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot I would rewatch from that. Would I watch the whole film front to back again? Probably not. It's a lot. It's a lot of an investment to watch. But it's not like I'm not as opposed to watching that front to back as I am the prequels. The prequels I just find is, and we're not going to get into that because I know you have very strong opinions about that.
Yeah.
For me, it's not a lot. There's a lot of time in there, and I don't feel like investing towards that. This I'd be a little more inclined to, but I don't know. Just between the Laura Dern subplot and the casino subplot, I don't want to watch any of that ever again.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I can see that. I came out liking the movie. I'm not raving about it, but I do think everybody should see it. I think it's important that everyone see the movie. You have to formulate your own opinion. This is a movie that does things differently than other Star Wars films, and that shouldn't scare anybody.
Yes.
And having said that, there's just some crazy shit happening all over the internets about this movie. It is just... I can understand the sort of the whole cinema score and Rotten Tomatoes critic score versus the people score. I can understand why the movie's divisive, right? I get it, and if it's a 50% viewer score or what, I'm not sure what they call that.
It was like 56 the audience score.
Audience
score, yeah.
If it's that, I get that. I'm like, hey, I get it. I get why it's like this. But then you have some people petitioning. They have a petition out to remove this from the Star Wars canon. I'm like, whoa, guys, get a grip.
Yeah.
Get a grip.
Yep.
Seriously. I don't understand how you can feel so strongly that you would start, and it's got a lot of signatures. And there's certain sites that I read, and I always read the comments. It's a mistake. I shouldn't.
I've stopped.
It's it can be just a total cesspool. But the amount of backlash this movie is getting for some folks that are just saying the most childish stuff about the movie and hate. It's literal hate.
Visceral hate.
It's just it's seething. It's seething hate. I don't get it. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about it? You didn't like the movie.
I didn't like it, but it's not like I'm, wanting to petition to remove it from the franchise. I didn't go home furious about it. I was a little upset that I was like, I really wish that was better for me. But like I don't know, the entitlement that fans have to their films these days is just fucking bananas. Like Star Wars fans looking to petition things and being able to voice these really angry and
some of them are hateful,
and I would say uninformed. Like a lot of times, like you've got people complaining about, this movie was bad. Why? Because what I liked wasn't in it.
Yeah, like Luke Skywalker died, or Luke Skywalker would never do this, or would never, like that kind of thing. I'm just like, like some of these things just don't hold water. They're like, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, so they can be angry about it. That's fine. It's just. Like the petition, like the seething hate. I'm like, guys, man, there's so much more you can do with that energy.
And here's the thing, too, is like their opinions, if you disagree with it, they come at you in the comments. And that's the stuff I don't like. Me and you disagree, not fundamentally, but we have points of disagreement in this film and other films, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But there's that's the interesting stuff, like this type of dialogue. I'm not going to go after you because you have a different opinion on me on this. It's just, and that's the thing is these people like they
protective.
Think
they're
very protective of their franchises and their opinions. And if you come at either of them, they are going to lose their shit. Yeah. And that's not cool. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think that if you've got a gripe with the film, that's cool. You want to voice it to people, no problem. But like, it's just a film, guys. Like, just keep it, civil. It's just a film. It's going to be okay. Life will go on.
Yeah, so...
And Disney's got the reins, so you're just not going to see the end of Star Wars films pretty much until you die, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Or until you disappear into thin air on top of a rock.
That's how I'd like to go.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
As long as the rock's warm.
Find a warm rock. It needs to be out in the sun.
I'll be out in the sun or like in like a hot spring or something like that. Something
toasty
nice,
rock.
Toasty rock. I'm out of water.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention this whole like fan backlash thing. I understand why, but man, people just need to get a grip. It's just not. It's just.
There's nothing wrong with liking or not liking something, and there's nothing wrong with voicing or not voicing your opinion.
Yeah.
But going after people that are the creators, like that's shitty. Like, I want to petition to take this out. Well, you didn't like the movie, don't go see it. Don't go see it again. Don't give them any more money. That's it.
There's a lot of "fuck you, Rian Johnson." There's a lot of those comments. I'm like, Jesus.
Joe Blow, I feel like has another article every day about like Rian Johnson defending his vision.
He doesn't have
explaining.
to.
No, I don't think he should. You made a movie. I wasn't super gung ho about it, and there weren't a lot of other people. But you know what? You did what you could. It's like back to David Ayer. Didn't really enjoy Suicide Squad that much, but he did his thing. Yeah. Right? Like, and he did it the way that he wanted. You got to respect it. Yeah. And if you don't like it, that's cool. That's your opinion, and that's completely fine. So
that was Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That was a massive.
This is 2 and a bit hours. The length, guys. We apologize, but I don't really apologize. It's a long ass movie, and there's a lot of stuff to cover.
This podcast was as long as the movie.
Actually, it was. Yeah,
it's almost exactly the length of the film.
Yeah.
Do you want to just sit here and have small chat until the timing is exactly the same? No, I hope this wasn't as bloated or dense I hope it was kind of challenging. I hope that people who are listening that kind of got like the two different clashing opinions, found some entertainment in it. And it's a challenging film. Go see it though.
Yeah,
go see the movie. Formulate your own opinion. It's something different. Check it out. It should be experienced.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Agreed. All right, folks. Thanks again for listening to this giant podcast. This has been the Welcome to Your Doom Show. I'm Justin.
This is Atul, and snoke 'em if you got 'em.
Take care and happy holidays. Peace.